Hi, you guys. Happy Friday. Welcome to LaPeep JR. Our panelists today are Tam, Mistaken, Christina, and Maya is going to be joining us a little late. We tried to hang in there, but it was taking a little too long. She's at work. So, my name is Shantae, not to be confused with Shantae, and this is a Chic critique. Hey, ladies.
Hey.
Hey, girl, hey.
Hey. So, girls, we are talking about fit, feminine, and friendly. Can we change the word to fine, feminine, and friendly?
No, because we still need to be promoting fit.
No,
You're absolutely correct.
no, because you already know the chat about to blow up and say, "Don't remove things from the title." Don't
We
do
need
that.
to.
No,
Let's
ma'am.
wait. Okay.
No,
So,
ma'am.
guys, listen, this is your night. Something must have taken over this week because we thought, you know what? We are going to listen to what the men want and what they like. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to promote that tonight because we want to make our men happy. Don't we, ladies?
Yes, ma'am.
Yay! So let me ask you guys a question because I feel like fit, feminine, and friendly is not a lot to ask. And this is coffee. It's not anything but coffee. Why do you think that that's so hard for women? Why do you think people push back on that? What is so funny?
Because Tam's reading the chat and she shouldn't be.
Get out of the
That's
chat.
why. But we're not even going to start there.
Masculine and angry.
Okay.
Aaron, leave my panelists alone. They are distracted. All right, let's go back. Focus, lady.
Somebody added freaky too. Fit, feminine, friendly, and freaky.
Can we start?
Listen.
Start.
Dr. Steele, we love you.
Okay.
Listen, I actually like that.
Oh my God.
For your man, one man, don't be a 304. We're talking about for the guy who you love, who you've committed yourself to. So, why do you think that there's so much pushback?
From women?
So when men say they want fit, feminine, and friendly, why do you think so many women push back on that? I don't think that's a lot to ask.
I think most women may not necessarily fit all 3 or 4. Now, if we add freaky, typically you probably have 3 out of the 4 out of, and the one that you're going to struggle with the most is the one that you're going to have a problem with.
I think went over my head.
That did. I have no clue what you
I'm saying, I think the pushback is, no, what I'm saying is I think that the pushback is based on whatever it is that each particular woman struggle with. So you may have a woman that's like fit, friendly, fit, feminine, but may not necessarily be friendly or freaky. Or it's hard to get all 4, just like how we've discussed before, finding men that may have all of the qualities and characteristics that we're looking for. But I think we're okay with settling with, if they get 3 out of the 4, whereas I think men are like making it seem that these are non-negotiables for them.
I don't know why women have pushback. I think being friendly is a character trait. Like, I think that's more of character more than you wanting to be with a man. Like, you should naturally want to be friendly with people. Like, you shouldn't want to make conflict at all times and want to be in the presence of chaos. So I find that interesting that there's a lot of women that want to cause conflict. And we talk about toxic, people issues with trauma and stuff. That's usually how it presents itself in anger. As far as what's the other ones? Fit, fine, freaky,
fit, feminine, friendly, and we added freaky. Depending on the man.
My knees hurt. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm not even. I naturally have always been an athlete. I played basketball. I ran track. These hips and knees don't cooperate. The Meg Thee Stallion knees kind of go out the door after a certain age, and it becomes a little bit more difficult. For me, my challenge is more so my body falling apart on me. But as far as other women, they get comfortable. You get comfortable and people reinforce it. It's not like these women aren't getting love from men because of their size, right? Like because they're not fit. There are people that are still out there showing that they're fine. Like, you are fine the way you are. I appreciate your size. So I think as long as it's reinforced, it's going to stay the same. Some people don't desire to go and be fit because men say it's fine.
I think for some women, if you are the size that you are, I think also too, that kind of depends on your metabolism, because you have some super small women where they can eat whatever and still not really gain weight, but that's still not promoting a healthy eating lifestyle. So that takes away from the fit, just because you're not gaining weight and you're putting all of the BS in your body and toxins and all of that, because it shows in your skin, it shows in your bowels, it shows in your urine, all of that shows. So regardless if you think that you look good, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're still eating properly, and that should necessarily be categorized in the fit, because we just finished talking about the definition of fit. So, but I think a lot of women are giving men so much pushback on those things is because, let's be honest, most women, they don't want a man telling them what to do. But I think we as women, if we start holding each other more accountable, maybe they'll be more inclined to accept it from us than versus a man. But I feel like if the man you with is telling you, like, you need to kind of get it together, like, let's figure out a way to get it together, especially if women are trying to figure out why they single, why you're not being chosen. Maybe it's because you're not fit, feminine, and friendly. And I also agree, I think friendly is a character trait. And I also think that, well, let me break down the fit part. Let's be honest. Some women are lazy when it comes to working out. Some women are lazy, and some women also feel like, I have been guilty of that myself. When your hair is freshly done, we all know Black girls ain't trying to get their hair wet. They not trying to sweat their hair out. So I think a lot of it comes from laziness, and also you not wanting to mess up your hair. I've been guilty of that. But luckily, I know how to do hair. So I can still work out and come back and wash my hair and fix it and make it look the same. But everybody don't have that talent. So I think that's when it comes to that's what happens when it comes to fit. When it comes to feminine, most women don't want a man telling her what to do, because it comes into the whole submission part. Women don't want to be submissive. And friendly, that is a character flaw if you are not a friendly person. So I think also it comes in play with their family dynamic, their home dynamic. Some of them grew up with their mama not being friendly to their daddy, so they feel like they don't have to be friendly to anybody. So at the end of the day, it's like we have to be able to hold each other accountable to start doing better. It's constructive criticism.
I think the biggest thing though too is being able is difficult to change behavior, and that's in any aspect. So like, even if like when we're saying like with the fit part is, hard to change behavior if you're used to doing something a certain way all the time, and now all of a sudden it's like, okay, now I need to change. It takes more work to change the behavior than it is to just keep doing what you've been doing. And I think that goes across the board with the fit, the feminine, and the friendly. Like, if you're not accustomed to being feminine, it's going to be difficult to even get in a mindset to do that. One, if you didn't have an example of what that looks like, or then two, if you've been accustomed to, let's say, how a lot of people talk about like being a boss bitch and all of that kind of stuff, to then switch from that mindset to something that's completely opposite. It is difficult, and a lot of times people they struggle with trying to create new habits, even though it is better for them. But I don't think it should be an excuse. Anything worth that's going to be a betterment to yourself is worth, going through that struggle and trying to change. It may not happen overnight, but not to quit. Like, you got to keep pursuing it if you know that it's going to benefit you in the long run.
I agree with a lot of the things that y'all said too. You're a product of your environment, right? And you don't know unless you know. So I think having a platform like this and a forum like this to talk about it, to be like, you don't gotta be like that. It's not very quiet. It's not being pleasant for yourself. You really gotta dig deep. And in words of Della, it's the self-love. Like, Della's not here, but her presence is really important. Like, the things that she says is really true. And I can speak for myself as an example. I grew up in a household where, there was a lot of yelling, and there's a lot of, not the best environment for communication, not the best environment for learning how to process your feelings. So as an adult, when you get there and you're processing it, it comes out certain ways. It shows itself. It comes out. You don't even know you're doing it until people bring it to your attention. So I think it's super important that we have these conversations to talk about. Like you said, we got to hold each other accountable. We have men who are doing it, and women take it very sensitively. They start to get defensive. Like, why would he say that about me? Where it's like, maybe if a woman said it, hey, maybe it should be a little bit more fit, friendly, and what was the other one? Sorry, never forget. Fit,
feminine, and friendly.
Friendly.
Oh, and they threw
Freaky.
in.
And we threw freaky.
Well, freaky. Listen, freaky is subjective. Freaky
Yeah,
is subjective because some people.
I think people have got freaky down pat. They've gone a little.
Not everybody. Everybody ain't got freaky down pat.
Yeah, so not having
I
role
think the
models.
monogamy being freaky is the problem that they're
Not having role models will do that.
Mm-hmm.
Tara.
Oh,
What happened?
We don't know.
She pushed her laptop back.
If they only knew the bloopers that have happened before we
Listen,
started
they
this show,
can get it together.
we will take that.
I'm allowed to have one off day. I'm allowed to have one off day.
You are allowed to have an off day.
But
See,
the
we
freaky
were watching movies and drinking before we, started.
It's Friday night. Listen, you were here with us on Friday night. We will not complain. Go ahead. What were you saying, Christine?
No,
sorry.
I'm saying
I'm done.
the freaky part is definitely subjective because
It's subjective. Yeah, that's mine.
That's going to determine how comfortable you are with that person and your freak level. Let's be honest. I always say there's two different types of comfortability. There's just the regular comfortable with the person, being around them, being in their space, you're in a relationship. And then there's that sexual level of comfortability where, you feel like you could try new things. You can experiment with things and not feel like you're being judged in the bedroom. So some people say they want the freaky, but can you handle certain people's level of freaky?
That should be one of the most vulnerable places, though, where you should be able to
articulate what you want.
Yeah,
so
and
both of your needs can be met.
And I saw a video actually, interestingly, today that a woman was saying that women should listen to a man, or men should listen to a woman when they start asking for toys and to do certain things, that it's because he's not satisfying her.
That's not true, though.
That's not true. I didn't agree with that. I was like, that's a stretch.
I think it's the way she asked it, the way she introduces those things in the bedroom. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to bruise your man's ego in the bedroom, especially if you are still being satisfied, even without bringing those additional things into the bedroom. Like, it's the way you introduce certain things, and be mindful and respectable of your man and his opinion, and don't bruise his ego, especially if it's already good, without introducing new things in the bedroom.
Do you think men find it easier to communicate their needs and wants in the bedroom versus a woman? And if so, why?
I think absolutely. I think it's easier for a man to communicate how they want to be pleased.
He's gonna let you. He's gonna say, "Move."
They go, put your head right here, please.
Lay down right here.
Can you put your head right here?
Go this way. Let me see.
But why do you think that? Why do you think women have a more difficult time communicating with their men what they want?
I think it's you don't want to bruise your man's ego. You don't want your man to feel like that he's not satisfying you. But I also, like I said, I also think that with communicating and being open with one another, you're comfortable. You should be able to comfortably talk to your woman or your man about anything. Like, listen, how we got to keep this thing going for 20, 30, 40, 50 years if we're able to. So look, we not going to be able to keep that going by just doing the same old thing day in and day out. Like, so you have to have that communication. Like,
I think at any point in time of man, actually, me and my husband was talking about this earlier, just because, sometimes I'll read, we'll talk about whatever the discussion is going to be tonight, just so I can kind of get his view on certain things. And one of the things that we were saying, well, what he said is that I think that out of any time that a man will listen about anything that a woman tells him to do, more than likely it will be in relation to what's going on in the bedroom, because men want to please. And so he said it's all in a way that you say it. But he was like, if you communicate that, that'd probably be one. If you have a man that don't ever listen to what you do, when it comes to sex and intimacy, like in the bedroom, that would be the one area in which they would not mind taking direction from you to tell them what they like, what you would like, because they aim to please.
Now I have a question to that. Is that are we having that conversation when we're in the heat of the moment, or we're not in the moment? Because sometimes you get a man to agree to anything when you're in the actual act. So let's be.
But then that's probably the perfect time to say it. Like, move your head a little to the right,
Sometimes a little soft redirection is nothing wrong
Right.
with that.
Right.
It's all in your delivery.
Definitely.
It's all in your delivery. What do you think, Shantae?
No, I absolutely agree. I think that you should be honest. I think it's so important. If you like toys, you have to make your mate feel comfortable with those toys. Let him know. And I've said this before, that toy is not your enemy. That's your teammate. You guys are both going to get there together to help me achieve that goal. Us achieve that final finale. And it can be great for both of us.
I think the only time men are mad angry with the toys is when that toy is excessive in the moment. Where
now, if the toy takes over,
then we got a
y'all have
problem.
sex, you like, baby, wait a minute, let me get my toy. Like, wait a minute, now you almost feels the man. I'm sure the man feels like, why we can't have sex without this toy? Why is the toy being involved every single time? So I think that's where they tend to kind of start to have
destruction of nerve endings.
He can no longer get you to climax because the toy, you used to the toy now.
You got to be careful with those toys.
Well, some people can go without climaxing at all without the toys. So it's like either
that is true too.
But I think that
that also, Shantae, that speaks to conversations about pleasure, though, because
the body.
If you're not, do you even know also how to please yourself? I think a lot of people also lack in that department as well. But I think
how you gonna be able to tell a man how to please you if you're not in tune with your own body?
Well, I think that's for people who can please themselves alone, but they're trying to, so they incorporate, because sometimes the toy does help a little bit. Anyway, it goes. Each person is different. Each woman is different. I hope that you communicate with your mate about what you guys like going on, because people like freakier stuff than that, and just have open communication and make sure you guys are on the same page, because I think that you should be compatible in different areas, and sex should be one of them.
I do have a question. How would you define feminine traits? Because I think that also would be important to define, especially when people throw out, I want a woman to be feminine. I want her to be feminine. I want her to be feminine. So let's define these things that we're talking about. So fit, feminine, and friendly. Well, friendly, I don't think you need to define.
And we also talked about how femininity can be different depending on region.
Okay, well, we talked about masculinity. That's the big. seems to be universal with femininity. It's the masculinity that kind of goes up and down, but we're not talking about that tonight. And that's in other countries, not here. But when it comes to fit, remember we had reread the definition before the show started, and it included nutrition. It included a person who was what did we say? They were
healthy eating.
Healthy eating. That's the nutrition. Healthy body weight. Also was able to the endurance. Their endurance was appropriate for their age. So that was about being fit. So it wasn't just your exterior. It was a lot more than just the exterior when it comes to being.
You also, I think, did you say workout as well?
Yeah, so workout, but inside and out, not just on the outside, but also on the inside. So you have to, and it's so crazy. This is what we have to do. So, and I was mistaken about this earlier. Women who have daughters, especially, we need to work out and then take our daughters, even at young ages, to work out with us. Because I noticed that when I was growing up, like I had this one girl who was on my cheer squad with me, and she was a runner. She ran every morning. But you know why? Because her mom ran every morning. And so then when she became a decent age, like a toddler, like older toddler, she started to run with her mom. And so she was disciplined, became a part of her norm. And so she continued to do that. So we do that at an early age with our daughters, teach them the importance of being fit, then it becomes a natural part of them. And they carry it on through life. So we have to start doing that for sure.
I think that goes hand in hand with femininity also. I feel like if the mothers are feminine beings and then they're teaching their daughters, I think it would be a lot less masculine women out there in the world, because I do personally feel like that it starts at home first. They are getting their upbringing from home. So I feel like if they're in a household where your mom is masculine and she kind of runs the house and your dad doesn't even have a voice because she's so masculine, like she's going to think that that's normal and that's how she's supposed to treat her husband. Or if you have a girl that's in a household and there isn't a father present, most of the times that woman is probably going to be more masculine, so it's rubbing off on the daughter. So I think it starts at home first. Like we have to start showing that feminine side more in the home to be able to show our daughters that this is how you need to kind of move throughout life. Like, and I think sometimes Black women equate femininity to like being a pushover, somebody kind of running over you when you're just a punching bag. You have to take everything and just deal with it. But we have to get that stigma out of our minds that it's something negative, as well as submission. It is not a negative thing to want to submit to your man, to want to be feminine, to want to be friendly, to want to be fit. We have to stop looking at everything as negative.
And to go back what Christina was asking about femininity, when I think of that, what I think is ladylike. Just being a lady. My grandmother's always like, oh, you have to be a lady. Cross your legs. Be a lady. This gonna sound as don't walk on your knees. You know how you scoot around on your knees. Get off of your knees. You're a lady.
My mom said the same thing. Don't sit on your knees.
Don't knock your knees up. You're a lady. And it's so many things, from eating at the table, eat this certain place, forks go certain places, food, blah, blah, blah. It's just etiquette, like an etiquette school. And unfortunately, I went to one growing up. We had like a little organization every other, like the first Saturday of the month, and we would go. So maybe finding those little schools for our, like little charm schools for our little girls. And that may help with the femininity, I suppose. What y'all think?
I think access. That would be a wonderful thing for that to happen. But a lot of
you can put your child in. Listen, let me tell you about this organization. I know it was in Alabama, so things like that are usual in Alabama. But because they preach that whole Southern Belle thing, but especially when I was growing up. But just like you can find athletic things for your child, it's no different from that. Like you go to ballet, but then after ballet, or if your child is involved in cheer or whatever, you just incorporate that just like you incorporate any other. If you get in your head, listen here, nails cost $70 a pop. maybe you should just grow them naturally. Take that $70 and put it towards an etiquette school, $70 a month. It can't be more than that.
Oh yeah, especially if you're paying for your daughter at young age, because let's be honest, these little girls are getting younger and younger with these fake nails. If you can support that habit, you can definitely support an etiquette school. Just
But I mean,
to
access to it. Where are these schools? You know, like
You
I
can
mean,
Google
that's
it.
the real question because
that depends on
I
your
mean, you
area.
do say like, yeah, let's do this, but do they have access to those locations?
Yeah,
You know,
they
like
have a lot here in Atlanta. You know what? Just let me know when you don't have an etiquette school, and I'll open one for you.
I mean, right. I think it's a great idea because especially if a lot of these young women don't have role models, then you know that would be a good alternative. But then
I
how do
also think
they know about these places?
I also think it depends on personality as well, because in environment, and not that I am making any excuses, but I'm just speaking from my own experience. I grew up in a household where my mom was very feminine. Shantae, you know my mom.
Mhm.
So like uh, she's submissive. She's very, soft spoken. She is such a freaking lady. But I'm not. Personality wise is just the environment. When I grew up, I was a tomboy, still am, to a yeah, I'm gonna say to a degree. I still am. And I was allowed to partake in the things that I enjoyed in and wasn't necessarily limited to say, oh, well, you're a girl, you can't do that. And that was just my personality. It always seemed to me growing up when I was younger that boys had so much more fun. Like when I looked at the little girls who were like real girly, it just used to like bother me because like I wanted to be out there playing and running. Like anytime I had a dress on, I used to wear biking shorts on under. Like my mom used to make me wear dresses and I hated them, but I would put biking shorts under them because I knew that I wasn't conscientious of, in a moment crossing my legs, or if I saw boys playing like football or baseball, or kickball, I'm out there running around doing it as well. And I'm thankful that, my dad and my mom, neither one of them kind of was like, girl, stop that, but they did teach me decorum. So if I was some places, like if I was in church or if I had to go to my mom's job with her, I knew how to conduct myself in different environments. And so I don't know if that is different. Like I can go to a function in which my husband would never have to be embarrassed because I know how to carry myself properly, but I think a lot of times sometimes the feminine thing kind of get in a way of I guess when you're younger in development in terms of doing things that you enjoy doing. I used to see girls who parents would be like, "No, you can't do that because you're a girl." And I'm not to say that some of that doesn't apply to certain things, but I'm thankful that my parents allowed me to just express myself in being who I am. And then as I got older, I did begin to apply some of those things that they taught me.
I think it's one of the things you said was really good about environments and knowing how to fit in different environments. And I
Mhm.
think that's also where that shows your femininity and that shows your friendliness as well. Like if you're able to adapt in different environments and like, okay, this is a professional business event, you know what attire to put on, you know how to present yourself, and you know how to not be embarrassing, like, so to I want to, well, I guess the word embarrassing, it is embarrassing sometimes when you're out and you're like, sis, why, sis, why? I wish you didn't. Why are you the only other Black person at this event? And that's what you chose. And it's like sometimes it happens though. And I think it's really important that also, I think that's probably part of what Shantae's saying, like your upbringing. My mom doesn't wear pants at all. Doesn't matter where she's going. My mom does not wear pants. She wears skirts, and that's it. She had a very structured, and I don't know if you know about Caribbean culture, but very structured. They take pride. They wear the uniforms. The uniforms are pressed. I don't know what I've been seeing these last couple of weeks, months as I go out, where we got women just straight up in bonnets working. And I'm like, sis, why you got a bonnet on? Like you were at work.
Ban them in public. They should be
in public wearing a whole bonnet. Can I take your order? And it's like, no, I don't want you to take my order. I don't want nothing you given today. It is just overall like, who taught you to leave the house like this? Like, how could you be at work like this, you know?
But you know what? It's the company's faults too, because they need to enforce some type of company policy that says you need to be presentable for work. That's unacceptable.
But I think some people don't even know what presentable is. Like what business.
Everybody should know that wearing a bonnet in public is not.
Oh yeah, bonnet. No, bonnet at work. I would never.
That is
I don't even. I'm one of those people that are in the airport that don't wear bonnet. Like I
don't even own a bonnet.
I travel a lot for work, so I'm a representation.
No bonnets to the gas station either, please.
It has gotten so much worse.
No bonnets outside the house. Period.
I mean, it's sleepwear.
Yeah.
It's sleepwear. Exactly.
It has gotten so much worse since the pandemic, not just with the bonnets, but just in like we were saying, in terms of decorum, like knowing how to dress when you're in certain places, like even in like I've seen teachers wearing stretch pants with flip-flops on to work, where it has gotten to the point where you're just like, really, you showed up to work like that? And since like I said, since the pandemic is, every once in a while you see a few people that you're like, oh, why she wear that? But now it has been occurring so much more. And it's not just the women. I'm also seeing men like showing up with like ripped jeans to work, camouflage.
I saw guys with like the do-rag.
Yeah.
I went to a crab place and this dude had a do-rag on, and I'm like,
I think some companies are lenient when you're not customer or client facing, but
these people are.
Still,
it should be some level of work policy where certain attire is not acceptable, even if that company or that establishment does not have a dress code. Like,
I mean, you just got to be professional when you go out. Like, I don't know if y'all mentioned this already since I'm just joining here, everybody. But I'll never forget when I was like, and I tell everybody, like, I'm a product of my environment. So I never forget when I was younger and I was like in high school driving, and I would go to the gas station. I would have my hair maybe wrapped up, and my pajamas on. My mom was like, you can't go to the gas station. You can't go out in public looking like that. So that's how I was able to learn, like, that's not how you're supposed to be out in public. And I always say this, but I still feel like somebody has to teach these young people how to be adults. And I don't think adults understand that you have to teach the kids how to be adults. Like, people just don't learn this stuff. I mean, you can, but it's very hard, And I think that everybody needs a mentor if you don't have a parent that's teaching you. And I think that makes a big difference, because literally that's the only reason why I stopped wearing pajamas to the gas station, because all my friends and stuff were wearing it. So I never thought it was nothing wrong with it. My mom was like, sis, no, you can't do that.
I remember one time in college.
Yes.
I was going to say, I remember one time in college that, we had been partying or whatever and got in late, and I had to get up. I had an early class, and I remember I rolled into class with my pajamas on.
I probably did that too.
I went to a PWI, but this particular class, I had a Black professor. And when I say he chewed me out, like in front of class, it was like, do not ever show up in my class in your pajamas.
Right.
Have some couth about yourself. get dressed, and come to class. I'd rather you come late or not at all than show up unpresentable. And I was like, dang, okay.
I agree with
Not even to my 8 a.m. classes did I roll out of bed and show up.
I'm guilty. I did on my campus. It was a little bit the norm. It was back when everybody was wearing the flannel pajama pants, and you would probably put on like a tank top, your sneakers, or some slides or something. And I made the mistake my freshman year of signing up for 8 a.m. classes.
Girl, didn't we all?
I did that too my freshman year. Never again.
My freshman year never happened again.
Biology at 8 a.m. was not
you
the
live and you
business.
learn. You live and you learn.
Right.
So there were a few times where I would throw on those pajama flannel pants and a tank top. I went to school in Arizona. It was so hot. So a tank top and like some sandals, but it was kind of the norm, but that still did not make it acceptable. And I wish I had professors that would have called us out on that. But I remember hearing some of my friends that went to schools in Atlanta, and they're like, "Oh no, honey, we're dressed up wearing heels every day, walking across
That was high school
class." So it was like it was a different environment. So that
Mhm.
was the environment that I was in, and it doesn't make it acceptable. You still pajamas are meant to be worn in the home, not outside the home. I don't care what celebrity or singer is making it hot to wear silk jammies as part of an outfit attire. They are meant to be worn in the house, but it just shows the different environments in being on different campuses. How you had the girls that was in heels, dressed up, full face makeup, strutting across the quad, going to class every day, whereas we were, and it wasn't a normal thing. But like I said, I made the mistake of signing up for an 8 a.m. class my freshman year and had to trot across campus. I was halfway still asleep. So again, not acceptable. But I wish I did have professors that called us out on that.
So how did you, so if you did that in college, what made you shift to, I don't know if you already talked about this, but what made you shift to, like, who was influencing your life, or was it just your own change to say?
I don't think it was necessarily influence. It was just I think I just woke up one day and realized that what the hell you got on?
Oh, that's good though. Like, I think that's a good self-discovery. You know what I'm saying? Because some people don't discover that. That's why
Yeah,
I'm
no.
asking.
I
What do you
remember
think?
when I first moved here to Georgia, and I guess that was when Lenox Mall was the mall, right?
Before it became a jail.
Right. And in New York, like getting dressed up like your fly gear, like I had on my nice,
Your tennis
my
shoes.
sweats with my kicks, like I was doing it, right? So I go to the mall and I walk in and it looked like I was at the club, and it kind of felt like everybody stopped and looked like, like, how dare you show up like that? And I was, and
Now,
I'm
Lenox Mall's on
It
whole.
was like that back
I
in the
would
day.
look
Lenox
at her
Mall's
like
on
that.
Let me
Like,
tell
whole
you,
fashion show.
I
I
was
remember
like,
in
God,
college.
they get dressed up to just go to
Yeah,
the mall, and
yeah.
I'm sitting
heels
here
every
thinking I was
day. But
fresh
you know
to
what?
death.
When I moved to Atlanta back in
Mhm.
2008, I don't live there now, obviously, but when I first moved there in 2008, and I was seeing how the women was moving, I was like everywhere I went, you couldn't catch me not wearing some heels. If I had to go to the gas station, I was cute and in some heels. In the grocery store, in some heels. It was like it was mandatory.
It
But
was
you know what's
I did not
crazy?
own
I dress
flats. Listen, I did not own flats until my mid-30s.
Wasn't
And
wearing sneakers, none of
maybe
that.
early 30s,
Heels.
but I was a heel freak. Maybe work, but honey, let me just tell you, you would not catch me in public.
Y'all wouldn't be doing that in New York. There's way too much walking to
Yeah,
be
exactly.
in
That's what it
New
is
York.
in New York.
So that's why kicks, you in your kicks, you have fly kicks on, because when you're walking around New York, you want to make sure your gear
I
looks
still
nice.
have my fly kicks, but my
But
fly kicks are the ones that are hard to find. So it's like, oh, those could translate to the heel depending on what I'm wearing it with. And those normally are the shoes I wear in the airport.
But that kind of
Yeah,
walking,
it's
that
all
kind
about
of walking is
comfortability now.
not
Yeah.
Heels are
But
not
it's
foot
still
friendly.
New Yorkers. They like y'all really big into tennis shoes. Because my thing was in high school we were wearing heels. So when I got to college and we had to walk across campus, me and my friend in high school had to go buy like tennis shoes because we weren't used to all this walking. So we were like, I guess we got to go buy tennis shoes. So we bought tennis shoes because we had to walk on campus. Now, when I got with my husband, who's from New York, he would buy me tennis shoes all the time. And I'm like, why do you keep buying me tennis shoes? He was like, because, that's what's, and I was like, okay. I just wasn't like, when you're from Atlanta, it's really like you dress up, you kind of embed it into that. So
it's very
it's
interesting
part of your environment.
Yeah, so it's very interesting on what her husband still finds to be feminine, though. If he's buying her sneakers, right? Like,
He does.
Some women would be like, sneakers? I'm not wearing those. I only wear
He
heels.
loves when I wear
Listen, get
sneakers.
you
I
somebody
can't
that can do
stand
both, honey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to have, because now for me, it's all about my level of comfort. I can't kick it in the heels the way I used to when I was in my 20s, honey. My ankles ain't set up that way no more. Your little pop.
I've been looking at those YSL.
You need to do some squats, Tam. You need to get those legs muscles in the right.
I'm with you, Tam. I wore some sandals, like flip flops to church. And the lady was like, "You wear flip flops?" I said, "Sweetheart, Jesus wore flip flops. Don't play with yourself. If they good enough for him, hey."
Get you some Jesus
They were cute though. They were cute.
I mean, I
can be cute in sandals.
I can still do both though. Let's not get into.
Right.
That's why I say get you somebody that could do both. I could be in some 5-inch heels one day, and the next day I'm in some ones. Like, get you somebody that can do both. But I need balance now. I'm not going to the gas station in heels. I'm not going to the grocery store in heels. The only time you may catch me at a gas station with some heels on is if maybe I'm on my way out and I need to get gas.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing that dressed
and
up.
I don't even drive in heels, so I ain't doing that either.
We've grown, we've matured. But going back to learning it, I think that when you're around high school, because we're around high schoolers a lot, you'll be amazed at how many don't even have dress clothes. Like, we have a dress up day. The kids don't have dress clothes because church is not popular anymore. So most don't go. So a lot of them just don't have it in their closet. And
that's boys and
that's still your parents, because I'm gonna tell you, my son got at least 1-2 suits in his outfit, so we ready for a dress up day.
That's because you know better. Some of their parents, like, sometimes you, like, especially when we're dress coding, like when kids come to school and they have on something that is just completely inappropriate, you contact parents and say, you need to bring your kid a change of clothes or something like that.
But some of the high schooling kids are wearing like tanks, like
the
spaghetti straps.
And you will see why the kid has on, and they will flip like, I bought her them clothes, it's okay for her. I said that she could wear this, and it's just like, ma'am, it's okay for her to wear that when she's not in school. Right. But in school, you have to follow this protocol. But like, they don't know because their environment has not.
Is there still a dress code in school, in high school? Because I don't feel like there is.
No,
not like how it was when I was in school.
Girl,
I would say when it is really out of control, like one time I saw a girl who had on, they weren't even real leggings, they were like tights, so you can literally see
through them.
Halter
tops, stomachs. I mean, these women,
right? But how do they get it?
Listen, one thing I can tell about this new generation, they have some confidence, because those bellies, you would think that you would be ashamed to show that belly, but they are proud of it, honey. It's hanging over, and
they don't get written up for having their stomach out.
But
most of them hide it. They'll have a jacket. They'll zip it up when they kind of see you, and then they'll take it. But you see them.
When they're getting in class, they'll take it off. Yeah,
I am sick of that, and I'm gonna be the one to say it.
Never. We all got written up for that.
Listen, I have this one student.
Don't mean you should wear it.
Right. I had this one student, for real, y'all. She's one of my Muslim students, and she wore her. Listen, This girl had hair beautiful. She dressed all blah, 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 blah. Girl, she showed up at a parent teacher conference. I didn't even recognize her because she had all the little stuff. And I was like, wait a minute. And she was like, I was like, oh, are we changing once we get to the school?
Did you call her out, Shantae? Did you call her out in front of her parents?
I was quiet. I should have told her parents.
You should have called her out.
Because I was like, what is this? I was just so... Yeah.
See, I think you should. See, that's my thing. Because we got in trouble. Like, your shorts, your skirt was too short. Your parent get in
your
trouble.
arms down.
And so my thing was...
spaghetti strap.
Yeah, spaghetti strap. Your stomach couldn't be shown.
It had to at least be like 4
you
fingers.
You had your shoulders. I remember one time a security guard, I wore, and it wasn't even the tiny spaghetti strap shirt. It was the thicker one.
Like the tank top.
Yes, and security was like, you can't wear that shirt. You gotta get another shirt to change it. I said,
yeah, they were a lot stricter on us.
Who's gonna be turned on by my shoulders?
Right. You got a sexy. Me and my friends was like, you got a sexy shoulder, boo.
Yes, I grew up in the 90s. So baggy clothes were in. It was up to your imagination to find out what was under them clothes.
Mm-hmm.
You did not have to worry about us because we wore baggy clothes, like the girls and the guys.
I'm like, I don't get it. That used to be so crazy to me. Like, who gonna get turned on by some shoulders?
Let me ask you this. So now that you see that that's how they work. Yeah. So now that's how it was back then. And now they're not putting any discipline on the children in schools now. Do you feel like that plays into like, how kids are growing up until they like
Absolutely.
early 20s?
These girls, these 15, 16-year-olds, let's be honest, we didn't look like that when we were in high school. I don't know what type of added preservatives is in the food or what, but we did not look as grown as these girls are. And granted, I know makeup.
Well, they're doing grown folks things.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. We didn't look as grown or act as grown.
Mm-hmm.
It's both of those things, because I remember, but they were a rarity. You had some girls that were in high school that were built like grown women, but it wasn't the majority. Yeah. But even if they were built like grown women, mentally wise, you can tell that they were young. But now you have the built like grown women and behaving like grown women. And
but why do you think that is?
It's just
the culture has changed.
I mean, we're in a very different era with social media and everything like that.
It's different, and it's not just.
So is that okay, or
it's not? But don't think that this is just happening at Black schools. This is happening.
No, I know.
This is happening at all schools. It's not just it's all ethnicities, not just Black kids. So.
Because at the PWI schools, they were a little more loosey than we were at our majority Black schools. And I used to be like, at Lovejoy, they get to wear they skirts really short, and y'all over here tripping about us, and they fighting on campus. You worried about the wrong stuff.
That's because they ain't had no booty. They always, I'm just saying, they didn't have no figure. So it was always more acceptable for white girls to be able to wear shorter shorts, shorter skirts, because it wasn't a lot that somebody can really fantasize about. Whereas, you got black women who have hips, who have butts, they are maturing a little faster than others. So they didn't want to see us walking around with that. I remember I had a job. I kid you not, I had a job that I got hips. I got hips and butt. And it was.
You have a nice shape, Tim, actually.
Yes, you guys.
And you guys can all see it next week at our meet and greet. Atlanta, Georgia. Get your tickets. Let's go.
Really quick though. Okay. So I remember the attire was like, khaki pants, dress slacks, that type of thing. And because I know I have a shape, I even went and bought like a size up. So my shape wasn't as accentuated in those types of clothing. And I still had a manager come and say, your butt is kind of poking out too much. And I'm like, listen, I already went up a size or two in clothing. Like, this is my shape. I can't control the fact that I have a shape. Like, so what do you want me to do about it? Like, I can't do anything. You're going to complain if I come in here with baggy clothes on, and then you're going to complain if I have clothes that are too tight. So I'm giving you a balance, but it's still an issue. It's still a problem. We can't control that. Like, we can't. But I do think that white girls get a pass at their schools, how you said, and we don't necessarily get that pass at predominantly black schools. We don't.
But when I see the black in your butt, that means whatever you have on is way too short.
We shouldn't be
Oh,
seeing
you should see
any
the-
No,
children.
you see it regularly.
We
Yeah.
shouldn't be
Oh, she
seeing
means
any
the dark, the
children.
pigmentation.
The dark
Pigmentation showing with the under.
Right.
'cause they don't-
I call it ronky. But
We
if I'm seeing that, then that means that whatever you have on is way too short, and I should not be seeing it.
Especially, are we talking about high school kids?
Oh, absolutely.
We're talking about people, period.
In
I know
general.
we're talking about people, period, but I'm like, are we including the high school kids too?
Everybody.
Oh, man,
Everybody.
Jesus.
Why are the parents even buying that little shit? Let's
Right.
be
Why
honest.
are the parents buying? I was about to say
because the
that.
parents be wearing the
I'm gonna have to stop up at my son's high school every now and then. Like, I'm just trying to make sure you ain't having no
These
babies.
parents have to do pop-ups because I'm telling you, these kids
That's what
will
I'm
go into
saying.
the bathroom. Even
And change.
the holier than thou ones will go in the bathroom, change clothes for the day, come back, and then change before they get on the bus, and
Yep.
then walk out the building.
Yeah,
We
Yeah.
see it
right.
all.
I'll be doing pop-ups at the school.
So then why aren't the schools enforcing dress codes again? Is it just not even working?
Because it's like a battle. It's so many.
It's
You
so
know,
many
it
things going
interrupts
on.
instruction.
Yeah.
You know, to sit here and get on everybody who has on whatever they have on. The point is, we have to instruct the kids. We only have a little bit of
So much
to do it.
time.
So anytime I have to stop, that's less instruction that your child is getting. You know, education.
But that's because you're teaching for the test, though.
No, I don't teach for
Okay.
this.
Okay, I just want to ask.
And what administrators have told me before too is that they have to pick their battle. A lot of times
Yeah.
they have bigger other things that are much more pressing that they have to deal with than to go around and police what everybody is wearing.
Well,
So-
see, I went
That's
to
fair.
pretty much an all black high school, and that was the security guard's job. I went to a
It's
school,
probably
we had
fighting on there.
security guards, several of them.
They'll be
Top
hard
flight.
in the first 2 weeks, and then it
It
just
was their job to
goes out
police
the door.
Mhm.
Yeah, top flight don't really be doing shit. For real.
Okay, you guys, I have to read these super chats. So Congo, honest dialogue from sincere women, much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Congo.
Oh, I may put him up on there so we get yeah, there it is. My apologies. Then we have Captain Exact super sticker. He gave us $20 super sticker. Thank you. Congo again. To be honest, I don't want a submissive woman. I want a ride or die chick legally that can match intentions and reciprocate my energy.
Yes.
The term die. Why we gotta die?
Congo.
He said legally though.
Listen,
We're gonna die legally.
the edge, but I ain't going over.
Well, why we
We're
gotta
gonna
die?
die legally. So everybody make sure everybody
Legally
got
was
life insurance.
stressed.
Everybody get a life insurance.
Legally
payout.
was stressed.
Okay, Catherine. Thank you, Catherine. Thanks for a well-needed conversation, ladies.
You're welcome, Catherine.
Congo, again, I have a question for the ladies. You know you can ask us.
What's your
anything.
question?
That's the question, honey.
You know, Congo always does that. He says, I
Oh, but he doesn't put the question.
we know why.
He gives us a
Great
super chat to
discussion,
ask
ladies.
a
Thank
question.
you, Toya.
Thank you.
Toya. Hey, Toya.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you,
Okay, so
Toya.
we're going to move on to the next question. So all of these questions, people are not going to necessarily like all of them, y'all. I'm just going to let y'all know. But we just want to know answers. Let me see. How do I get that off? Hold on. Y'all know I'm new to this. New to this.
And Congo, ask your question. I'm curious to know what it
I'm
was.
curious to know what that question is too. So we talked about fit, we talked about feminine, we talked about friendly. Why do you, let's see, I don't know if I want to go that route. You know, this question actually came up. I wrote this question down. This question actually came up to somebody in the chat. Well, it was more of a statement in the chat. But
Hold
do
on,
you
can't
think
say,
that
Lioness said, where is her super chat?
where is Lioness? Don't you tell me I left you out. I was so engulfed in the conversation. Let me go back. Let me go.
We sorry.
And we are absolutely sorry because we are ever so appreciative. And I
Maya,
probably
you have the
missed
same
this.
nails, by
My
the way.
apologies.
It's okay.
But while I'm looking for the super chat, let me ask you guys a question about do you think that women are selective with their femininity? Like, do you think that women give femininity just to only certain men and not necessarily to all men? And if that's the case, what type of man and why? Because men say, well, if you're feminine, you should be that way to everybody.
What you mean
So
if you
selective
feminine?
femininity.
It's women. So do women pick and choose when they're feminine or not?
That's what's been
Is that
happening.
what we're saying?
That's what's been happening. So we
Like, so,
understand.
but even if I wear tennis shoes and a t-shirt and I'm not feminine.
Okay, so basically, I always think of being. Oh, I see a Linus. Let me just get her real fast. So supporting Honest Combo. Looking forward to seeing you ladies in ATL. Yay, she's coming. Whoop,
We
whoop,
look
whoop.
forward to seeing you too.
Linus. I was not gonna stop until I found that super chat.
Thank you,
but
Linus.
my question, so what happens is there are some women, and I've heard this myself, they'll say, well, I'm feminine too when I need to be, or to a certain person. They may have femininity to a certain person, but the question that guys have is, or the statement that they made is, the question, how are you feminine? Like, it shouldn't be a selective femininity. You're either feminine or you're not feminine.
I agree. Yeah, that's what I agree.
I definitely agree with that. Like, that shouldn't be something that should be an off and on switch with.
Right.
that should be something
Conditional femininity. Thank you, Dr. Steele.
That should be something that women should have and should try to maintain. It should be something that turns on and off with certain men. But let's be honest, you got some women that'll do it and also be submissive to a certain caliber of men. The men that are probably the ones that got the bag, whatever the bag is, whatever that bag looks like to that man or to that woman, and they feel like, oh, I could do it for that person, but I'm not gonna turn it on.
But that doesn't come off genuine, does it?
No. That's what I said. It shouldn't be an off and on switch to a woman's femininity. Like, that should be something that you should have in you that you can't just turn off.
Y'all see my face. I think
I have a video that I'm going to ask you about this in a second, but go ahead.
I think it's a little different just in terms of, yes, if you're a I think there are some women that are way more feminine than others. I think that's, like some women, each woman can be different on the scale of femininity. But I also think that you can grow to become more feminine depending on your partner. So it's kind of like, you teach people how you want to be treated, and also you have certain expectations. So if there's a man that you have, sometimes he may say, I don't like the fact that you wear pants, right? Or something like that. And then because you care and want to be in that relationship and you take what he says into consideration, you may start wearing more dresses, more, skirts and stuff like that. So sometimes you will adjust to the person that you're with, not that you're trying to become somebody new, but it's about compromising in a relationship and wanting to do those things that your partner likes.
But does that mean that what you dressed like before wasn't feminine?
It may not be to the level of femininity that he appreciates.
To that person.
Yeah.
Okay. But like maybe it could be appreciative to society. Because that's my thing. Like, so then at this point, my question is like, what are we defining as femininity?
That was my question. You
did.
took it out my mouth, Maya, because that's what I was saying. I'm like, what are you defining as femininity?
So let me give you an example, because there's charts that have different examples of femininity and masculinity. Let me just say this. When you have aggression, that's considered masculinity. When you're soft-spoken, you listen well, you carry yourself like a lady, those are all feminine traits. You don't raise your voice, you don't have like a that deep man in your voice. That's femininity. I mean, it's so many things. Like if you have,
Is drinking out of solo cups feminine? No.
I mean, you are giving me a little bit.
Right, Tam, is that not feminine?
You need a glass.
Carrie,
I'm a lady.
I'm sure there's no guy in the audience who cares about that cup. But it's just how you carry yourself. There's certain things that you do that give off masculine energy and feminine energy. And Mistaken and I have spoken about this before. I can't remember if it was on the show, but I also think that when you grow up, you may have grown up where you had to be a little bit more, protective of yourself. For example, if I live somewhere like New York, you're raised to know that these streets can be a little cruel, and you have to make sure you get from point A to point B safely. And that made me having a barrier up in watching yourself and understand that you have to protect yourself by any means necessary, and that may come with some masculine energy.
I got a question to that, Shantae, especially with Mistaken being from New York. So we get an overall perspective of men, how they feel about women being masculine. But in New York, so many women, like, that's just kind of their thing, and it's not frowned upon in New York. So
it's their norm.
Yeah, so do men feel like in New York when they're dating women and she has that, I'm, that masculine energy, do they feel like that's a sign of her not being feminine or her masculinity?
There's some men who like that. I know men in the Southern, they love that New York woman.
I know, but I'm speaking specifically for like just people in New York. Like, do they have an issue with the woman having kind of like that masculine energy? I don't think to me, it doesn't seem like that's an issue there, how it would normally be somewhere else.
But they understand the environment. I think the men there understand the environment. They understand the necessity.
A lot of times women aren't just walking around in New York like, like that.
But you can get it in New York.
That's what I was going to say. It depends on the situation. Like I would say I definitely have friends where, like, when we're talking about the scale of masculinity and femininity, that I know, like in the South, like me and Shantae, we talked about this. She puts me on that scale of more masculine. Right, but
he's working on it.
I'm in my environment around friends and stuff that I grew up around, I would be considered much more feminine. And so I think it all depends on the man in terms of what level or what scale of masculine or feminine that he wants. Because a lot of times, and this is just my experience, I know I can't speak for all men in New York, but like I think was it Congo just said, like, they want a woman that's gonna ride or die. So is a certain like energy that comes along with that. Like, so if I see my man in a situation or whatever, and he gets into a fight, I think on the feminine side, you're like, oh, somebody help, let me call 911. And like if my man is on and popping, I'm gonna get me a bottle. I'm gonna get somebody getting bust upside the head. Like, and that's just gonna be a natural reaction.
I think that should be a natural reaction for any woman.
That's Mama Bear. I call it Mama Bear because everybody has I think that God puts a little bit of masculinity in women. It's natural to want to protect. It's a protective mechanism.
So who else is going to send their food back when the order is wrong? They like that masculine part of us, because we don't tell the waitress, excuse me, miss, his food is cold. Like, I don't think
I ain't sending nothing back.
Not doing that.
But see, that my thing is, even with that, I feel like that's me being a woman. Like, I'm gonna make sure you're taken care of. Like, we're not gonna just have whatever they bring to us because you as a man think that's okay. Me as a woman, regardless if I am very firm with that waitress or the waiter and telling them, like, this order is wrong, I would like for you to bring us the correct order out correctly. Like,
but that, you can ask that in a nice way. I'm sorry.
It's the one that we all.
That's
Yeah,
why I
no
say
one
I'm
is saying
sorry, but it's
no one is
cold.
saying be rude, but yeah,
Right, be
definitely.
rude and
But
get your
then,
food
like,
spitting.
yo, her food is cold, and mostly she's not the
Yeah.
cook, so she, it's no need to
Be
go down
rude
like
and get
her
your food
throat.
Yeah,
spitting.
no, you still need to be respectable, but I've been on dates with men that's like, I didn't really order this, or that's not the drink that I asked for, and they'll just be like, oh, it's okay, it's fine, I'll drink. And I'm like, no,
No, you should
excuse
say
me,
something.
this isn't what he ordered. He specifically asked for this. Thank you. It's we friendly. That's that friendly. That's a part of being feminine and friendly.
Yeah.
But you know what, Maya, just because I really wanted to know some traits, I looked it up. I want to know some feminine traits because I think it's very important that we define this because
I
as
agree.
Mistaken
Go for
I
said,
agree.
I'm excited.
I agree. It's different
So-
environments, different stuff. Yeah,
traits
I want to know.
such as nurturance, sensitivity, sweetness, supportiveness, gentleness, warmth, passivity, cooperativeness, expressiveness, modesty, humility, empathy, affection, tenderness, and being emotional, kind, helpful, devoted, and understanding have been cited as stereotypical or attributes of femininity.
Sounds
Okay.
like a woman.
Now, where I
Yeah.
do have, and I guess it wouldn't be a conflict, but I would think some of those characteristics that were described, I think would be characteristics that you should have just in how you treat other people.
People, I agree.
Like to me, being kind is not a feminine trait. Men should
Well,
be
some of these traits might be on the men's thing too, though.
But the thing about
Some of
it
these
is,
traits might be
the
on.
issue
They can
is,
overlap.
I think
Well,
the
and that's what I'm
issue,
saying. I think sometimes where it gets twisted is that when we begin to just associate certain characteristics with masculinity and femininity, it impedes the way that some people would be able to move in certain spaces. Like the fact that we tell men that they shouldn't show their emotions, and they should be able to show emotion beyond just being angry.
but is that not defined in masculinity? I mean, we didn't talk about the masculinity
Well,
trait.
what happens is so this is the tricky part. So when we talk about men being vulnerable, but some women think that that's feminine, and that's why men don't like to do it. Even though we tell them it's okay, because they're scared they're gonna be punished for because people associate that with being feminine.
We've all been conditioned. That's my point. We've
Well,
been
it's all
conditioned.
condition. It's all
Right. We've
But I
all
think
been
what's
Because
important
I was about to say,
is that a lot of these attributes that we did describe should be like moral character. I think it's part of your character.
Exactly.
It's not so much, oh, you should. So I get where men say you shouldn't just be turning this off. You should naturally be like this because these are character traits that you should have. And if you don't have these character traits, then I don't really know how I would want to move with you in this space. Because a lot of those things are, you should naturally want to be supportive to your partner. You should naturally want to be an emotional person with your partner. You should naturally want to make sure you're nurturing to your partner. And a lot of the issues that I think men are seeing is that Black women are not these things. And how do we get back to Black women naturally being less aggressive and less angry and less friendly and less approachable? And a lot of these things are the issues that men are seeing, and that's why they're screaming out about it at this point.
You got to start at home first.
Well, and I think too, when we look at masculine and feminine traits, I would be curious, Cece, if you can look up what it says for masculinity.
That's just a Google away.
Because a lot of times what happens is the feminine traits, if we just want to kind of like look at it or correlate it is to be an opposite. So it's kind of like, kind, gentle, nice, all of those niceties. But then when you look at men, then it's like all of those, what I would consider some of those negative characteristics.
That's not true. When I looked it up a long time ago, it was like competitive, leader. It wasn't.
I'm just saying, looking at it on just a low level scale, like when you have good and bad, right? Like all women are supposed to be on this higher scale of just nice, whereas men are allowed
which they talked about the men being more
aggressive.
serial killers. They the
Right.
ones that serial killers and the terrorists attack people. Those are all men.
Let me
Right, or
They talk
being
about that
aggressive
too.
and stuff like that. And to me, yes, there is a time to be aggressive, but I think there's a time for aggressiveness for women and both men. But I think in general, both should be women and men should be approachable. I shouldn't be fearful to come to you to ask you for directions, or like, I know they say fit, feminine, and friendly, but I think everyone to a degree should be friendly. Now, I'm not saying you're walking around making yourself a target. There's a level of it, but I just think that we don't necessarily want to attribute and continue to attribute certain characteristics and qualities towards men that are frowned upon, like being kind or being emotionally aware, those kind of things, and then say that they're feminine for acting like that when it's not.
I think we agree with that. We were just putting it. We were just making, and we don't even know that that's what it's saying. We're just putting a
an overarching, similar to what Shantae said. Just a quick search. It says protective, competitive, logical, practical, analytical, disciplined, single focused, grounded, structured, stable, purpose driven, outward action. So I think like when it comes to men, if you're saying that you're stable, I think you should be able to express your emotions. I think that would go underneath being stable, because it's not saying that men shouldn't be able to express their emotions. That's healthy. That's just a human nature. You need to properly know how to express your emotion. Correct. And I think you're right.
We're gonna make sure we stay focused on the women tonight. We're gonna do.
We are. So you know what, Shantae, you're right.
But I got a thought to that, because we are in 2022, okay, and I just watched the latest episode of P Valley, okay, and this is a very
girls getting naked.
Never seen it.
Very, this season 2 is very talkative on Twitter, okay, because they have a lot of same-sex relationship stuff going on there. And like, one of the comments the guy made, the rapper Lil Murder, he was like, I could always pass. And I've heard this since I was watching Pose too, so I have been previewed a lot more to the LGBTQ plus society, right, by watching these shows. And I think it's very informative, because we are in 2022. But I think that to take into account where you're talking about male and female femininity too, well, female femininity and how men are supposed to be masculine, sometimes I think it may be overplayed, because you have men who are going out to be feminine. And it's like I know a guy who, I don't know if he's trans or whatever, but we call him he. We call him by his male name, but he has long hair. He talks very soft. He walks like this. He wears heels, and I love him, right? But it's kind of like, I was like, dang, like, I don't even talk that soft, and I don't even sway when I walk like that. It kind of made me, when I first was around him so much, I was thinking like, am I supposed to be more feminine? It made me kind of question, like, am I not feminine enough? So honestly, like, I think that because we have these trends and we have more accepting same-sex relationships going on, I mean, I don't know, because I just feel like the men who are portraying, or I want to say that, so the men who carry themselves as a woman sometimes like over accentuate like our femininity sides. And I feel like, there might be plenty of men out here who are passing, and they're like, that's how you should be, like that man who's,
well, they know what men like.
And it's just like, so I gotta talk
shades too.
There you go.
I'm trying to figure out
That's not fair.
I'm trying to figure out the right words to say and to not offend anybody.
Right.
But I don't think that a man portraying to be a woman can tell a woman how to be a woman.
But the
But
men
he can tell you
are
what women like.
And
but men
but
are
he can
appealed
tell
to
you what
that.
men, but is he telling you what heterosexual men like,
Oh,
or
they
what
like it.
other gay men
I
like?
love it.
Because
That's
I
what
like heterosexual men. So
I mean,
don't
I do
think-
too, but
I
my
don't
point
think
was
that a
when I
gay
first said
man
it.
can
You're
tell
But when I
me
right.
first
what
hold on,
a
wait.
heterosexual male that.
But when I first said though, remember, and I was talking, that's why I referenced P Valley, because when he said, "Oh, we always been able to pass," and I was like, "Oh, so he like knew he was gay for a long time." And so I was just like, "So dang, it's a lot of men out here that's just passing." You know what I'm saying? And they really are attracted to men. They don't feel like they can be themselves. You know, so it's just like, so are you attracted? Because like he's attracted to a man who is, you know, who's pers- I'm just trying not to get this wrong.
This talk is getting a little difficult. I think that
Okay, I'm sorry.
To base it on that,
Because
because
I mean, you have to. My
I
thing
think
is, it's 2022. I'm just saying, in 2022, I have family. That's what I'm saying. I have my brother is gay and he's married to a man. You know, I have a cousin that's gay and she's like engaged to a woman. So my thing is, and they got cartoons and shit with two moms and two dads and stuff like that. So it's hard for me every time I think about heterosexual relationships. I'm like, so are we not including the LGBT community? Because
well,
they
they're
get
not
really mad.
heterosexual. If you're saying when you think about heterosexual, they are people. But if you said heterosexual relationship, then that would be a heterosexual relationship.
No, it's not. No, I agree. But I'm just
I
talking
don't think
about
it
in
was so.
general
So for us,
society.
I can't speak on. So for example, if I wanted to talk about their community, I would invite them to talk about their community. I don't want to speak because I'm not a pro at their, like I would prefer, just like us sitting here, I want us to focus more on women because we are women. We can take what a man has said and try to do better, but we can't speak for men.
Okay, so
just
then
like
I should just keep it around the
for
fact that
I
guy made
can't
me
speak
feel
for,
like I wasn't
gay
feminine
people.
enough.
They're
The
not
way
here
he
to
was
speak for themselves. I would prefer to
around.
have, if we're gonna have that conversation, I would prefer to have a gay people on the show to speak for themselves because I can't speak for them. I don't think any of us can speak for them.
Yeah.
So.
And that's why I made the point of I don't think a gay man can give me tips on being feminine based off of what a heterosexual man is looking for, what he thinks is feminine. Like you can give me your points based off of another gay or bisexual man, what he likes and what's looking for, but you can't tell me how to be feminine because that is what a heterosexual man is looking for. You can't tell me that.
That's cool.
Valid.
I'm sorry, Maya, but he made you feel less. I'm sorry he made you feel less feminine. I mean,
no, Maya, you're not Maya. I've known you,
okay?
babe. I love
Honey,
you
your
the way you are,
husband
but
loves you just the way you are.
but
baby, because Maya, a lot of the
baby.
stuff that they do, I love the LGBT community, love it. Got them in my family, love it. Listen, no judgment here, but a lot of that is overly sexualized, is overly over the top.
How do we get here?
Everything is just over the top for the most part. So
Okay, yes, let's not. So we're not going to take this conversation there. We're going to bring it back, reel it back in. Bring it back. Dang, that's not how the words go. Never mind. I was gonna mess up a song. I was gonna mess up a rap lyric.
Shantae.
Yes, please let's stay focused on what we're here for. We're talking about women, heterosexual women today. And us, do you think the original question was, do you think that there are certain men who bring out femininity? Can women be conditionally feminine? Conditional femininity.
Yeah,
I think so. From what Mistaken said, yes. Because there are certain things that men will ask for, and it's whether or not you're going to listen to what they say. Like, I'm going to give you a hint on what I like. Are you going to listen to the things that I'm going to drop hints? I'm not going to tell you directly, but I'm going to drop hints. How you receive it is how you receive it.
Right. like my husband buying those tennis shoes, so I started wearing more tennis shoes.
Wear them tennis
But I
shoes.
don't
You
really
know
wear
what? You
tennis
match your
shoes.
swag. You guys. I'm gonna match. What we say, Tara? I'm gonna match your fly. That's our new
Yeah.
hashtag. I'm gonna match your fly.
And I think that was another thing that I was going to say. The opposite can be true, like where I think some men create an environment for a woman to be feminine, to be submissive, like those kind of things. Even if, because I know my husband had to teach me like how he wanted me to interact with him. You know what I'm saying? So I do think that you definitely, and then there were certain things that I had to teach him in how he's going to relate to me, because sometimes, you know, he can come off like gruff, and you know, sometimes I think there's a time for that. But I think in a moment when I'm trying to be vulnerable with him, that's not the time to be gruff. I need him not to be like, well, I do. I need him to be sensitive to my emotion, being able to use his emotional intelligence to kind of switch up in terms of how he's dealing with me when I'm in a sensitive moment. So it's not the time to be like, yo, suck it up. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of stuff. Sometimes I just need you to hear me, you know, and then give me, you know, some advice, but not like, what's all that crying for? You know, like that's not the time to do that. So when I'm saying like men knowing how to deal with emotion and handle emotion, I think a lot of times when they hear the word emotion, they contribute it to emotional. Like when you're being emotional, then that means you're not in control of your emotions. And you know, you can be in control of your emotion, knowing how to express how you feel without it being feminine. And so I think, you know, when you're with a partner, you make adjustments and you adapt. So sometimes it will be, I need you to be a little more feminine, or I like when you do this, go get your nails done. Like those are things that I was not into initially, but those are things that my husband liked, you know. And so guess what? I started getting my toes done, getting my nails done, stuff like that. So I do think a man can, I think you do come with a level of femininity, but whoever you're with can bring that out more. Or it can be the opposite too, where you meet you know, you match their, you know, what we were saying, how if they come at you masculine, sometimes you know, you kind of react to that and you may express a more masculine aspect as well. So I think it depends on the environment that the man creates that's going to determine how a woman reacts to it.
I think something you said that was super important. I think there's a level of femininity you have to naturally have in order to get your foot in the door, right? We're not saying that you come into the table and you just real rough around the edges, like, yo, what up, son? Chest bumping him, everything. We're not. That's not what you're doing, right? Like, I think that needs to be clarified that there's a level of femininity that you have to have in order for a man to even see you as someone that they want to be with. And yes, there's adjustments that they may ask you to do, like, yeah, I want you to do this, or could you wear that dress, or could we wear those heels again? You know, those are the subtle hints that they'll, you know, they want you to do. Like you said with your nails and toes. I was the same way. Mistaken. I grew up a tomboy, very similar. I wore basketball shorts and windbreakers and everything every day because I played basketball. I didn't buy my first pair of heels till college, right? So very similar to you. I wore Dunks. I had every color of Dunks. I wish I kept them though. I had every color of Dunks in high school, and I did not keep them. And now Dunks are like $300. I wish I kept them. But anyway, that's a side note. But yeah, similarly, you know, you don't know until, you know, your partner will tell you, like, I would like if you did this, and it's like, all right, well, I could do that. It's whether or not you're cooperative with what they're asking, right?
And if you want to be corruptive because of what they're telling you, you know what I'm saying? Like, and sometimes I think like a lot of stuff that I remember when for me personally, when we were dating, he would say stuff and I would kind of take it back, like, why do you feel that way? But I never was taught, like, and I didn't grow up with a man. My father wasn't in a household, so I just didn't understand. And as I got older, I realized, like, through talking to friends and stuff like that, like that's something that your man wants to see in you. So it's your choice to either meet him halfway, meet him whole way, or not. You know what I'm saying? Like, but that's what kind of helps you decide if that person is right for you too. Like, if you're willing to meet that person halfway or whole way, if he, like Mistaken was saying, like, if you want my nails done all the time, am I willing to go get my nails done all the time? Am I that type of person? Or do I want to stay true to my character and like never get my nails done because I don't want to, you know? So I think that person has to say, you know what, I like this guy enough, you know, he's saying he want to get my nails done. He likes that. He likes how that looks on me. He likes when I get my nails done. So I get my nails done. But you have to be turned on by that man when he says that and the approach that comes from it. Because some men are like, bitch, you ugly as fuck. You need to get your nails done, your hair done. And you know, so sometimes it can be controlling. And that's not the right approach. But
I have a follow-up question to that. Do you feel like that if that's something that you weren't doing before, that if he is requesting that of you, that he should be paying for those services?
So so I know when we first were dating, he would always talk about how he wanted me to dye my hair. And I would tell him, like, well, then you should just pay for that because that's an extra service. Like, if you want my hair to be dyed all the time, you should pay for that. And he did. Now, years later, it's just something that I know he likes. So if he's paying for my hair to get done this time or not, you know, it's something that I try to keep up with because I know that he likes when my hair is dyed. So I just, you know, that kind of depends. Like in the beginning, I kind of felt like if that's something that you really like, that's like an expense, you know, like, so.
I think for me, this became a part
But
of
I also
my,
was, we also
So
started
my
I was in my
personal
life.
care now. In the beginning, he did, but now I think that has just become part of my
Right.
personal care. So I just
Yeah.
take care
So
of it.
let me just say
Yeah.
this. Let me because I think that we're thinking more of the fit like beauty. I think that we're making it more of a beauty standard. Like nails to me is a beauty. Like he likes to see a visual thing. But I think that what men are suggesting is like, for example, how you communicate. Are you communicating in a feminine manner? Do
Do
you
men
carry
communicate
yourself,
though?
meaning the way you walk, the way you carry, like those the feminine, you know, the qualities of femininity that's not necessarily something like, oh, on your physical.
I think that's a fantasy when we talk about men and they talk, because we talked about this last time I was on here, because men first look at physical things, and that's
Oh
what
no,
you
no,
said.
we know that.
Oh, okay. I'm about to say.
We're not. I'm not talking about
So
that. We're just talking about for
I'm about to
this
say.
conversation.
Oh, okay. So we're
As
gonna go
far
deep.
as when it comes to femininity, not beauty, because we know beauty means a lot to a man. They gonna tell you, baby. But when it comes to what, like for example, when they say women have attitudes, or they say a woman she's so aggressive the way she talks, or she walks around with like a little funky attitude when you speak to her, she don't want to smile, or she doesn't carry herself like a lady, or she doesn't bring me peace, because that's also a quality. A woman to make you. They said nurturing. I think that was something that Christina said. Are you a nurturer? So what do you guys think?
Peace is subjective. You have to
I'm about
know.
to say that is tricky.
Yeah, you
Have to know what your man considers peace. So that's one of the things when women be like, what do you bring to the relationship? Oh, I bring peace. You don't even know what that man requires is peace. So it's subjective to each man. You have to get to know and figure out what it is that your mate needs from you to help make the relationship successful. So you gotta communicate, because you can't just be around here saying you bring peace. Okay, well, the peace you might bring might not be the level of peace that he requires. So
or what your idea of what peace is. That's very true.
exactly, because
But
sometimes
going back to what you said, Maya, about nails, I have a couple of friends. That is what they were taught. They were taught by their mother. You don't leave the house without your nails together. I have a friend who brings nail polish on the road. Her nail is never chipped. She will be in the hotel room like this, she don't play about, because that's just you don't leave the house without your nails done, and that's something that was taught from their parents. Like their mother taught them that. My mom's not very, she doesn't wear a lot of makeup, she doesn't wear, but my mom's nails always clean, they're always nice and pretty, they're natural, but my mom always has clean nails. I've always seen that. I don't do dirty nails,
That's what my mom was.
I have a nail brush
at a young age.
Yeah.
That you keep your appearance up to par.
Yeah.
My mom used to paint my nails for me when I was little, and then showed me how to paint my nails until I got of age where, I could start going to get them done myself. But it was like, you always look presentable when you left the house. A little girl should look like a little girl. A woman should look like a woman. Your appearance is your first point of contact that anyone encounters with you. So your appearance should always be up to par. So that is something that I do for myself, that a man doesn't necessarily have to require of me, because that is what I am doing for my own personal self and my own personal self-care, and what I feel like I need that makes me feel good about myself, or just makes me feel feminine in general. So
do you think that self-care is a part of that, bleeds into like that characteristic more part of what Shantae was talking about? Like, because you take care of yourself, like, you know how to take care of yourself as a lady, that bleeds into you knowing how to handle yourself as a lady as well? Or do y'all think that doesn't go hand in hand?
I think it's still physical characteristics, like getting your nails done. Like my husband, he hates chipped toenail polish, stuff like that. But in thinking about what her question was about peace, I think that it's kind of like what
Shantae, there's an echo, honey.
Shantae, when you got on, boo.
Yeah.
What she was saying in terms of understanding what that piece is for each man. Men are different, and what they look for in terms of what peace will be in their home can, it shifts from one guy, to the next. Just, kind of like with women, what we look for in a mate can shift and be different depending on a guy. But I do think that as women, I think that should be part of our response to our man, in terms of learning him and learning what peace looks like for. It is learning him, being able to read him and understand what that piece is for him. So for me, over the years, I've come to learn what those things are for my husband. I know a Saturday I'm gonna have to leave him alone. Like, that's his day that he got, don't have to work. And even though that there are things to be done around the house, I have learned that he's gonna do things in his own time. I would get frustrated with the fact that I'm very particular about, doing certain things. So, because that's the way we grew up. Saturday morning routine, you get up, you clean the house, you get everything straight, and then, you have the rest of the day to do whatever you want after all of those things are taken care of. So in my household, I kind of ran it the same way, especially when the kids were here. But now that they're gone and it's just him and I, it's still kind of like, okay, it's Saturday morning, let's get this laundry done, let's do this, let's do that. And I realized for him that it's not going to happen. He's like, all right, I'm going to help, I'm willing to help, but right now is not the time. You know what I'm saying? Let me have my beer, let me relax, let me chill, and then I'll get to it when I get to it. And I had to learn that. But that used to be, a point of like just kind of frustration for me in my household, because I knew how I wanted my household to run. But I just think it all.
But you were willing to learn and compromise with that partner.
Right.
Right.
That's what's important. Right.
Yeah. I think that's really important. Like, because that's why I'm like, that's why it's all about like who you really willing to make these choices with. You know what I'm saying? Because it all comes down to a choice. Am I willing to stop and just wait and let him clean up the house when he want to clean up? And that's a choice you have to make. Am I willing to, like, if he doesn't like to do this, like, is it that okay? Like, once you make those choices about your partner, you made that choice, and you willing to, because I feel like relationships are compromises. Like, is it worth it? Because I'm getting this over here, so I'm not gonna complain about this. Like, if he likes, like you said, if he doesn't like when I yell at him, so can I check the way that maybe I am yelling. I remember, real story. Okay, so growing up, let me get back on camera real quick. Growing up, I was a little bit aggressive and very combative, right? So I had this boyfriend in high school, and we were like in love. He was like my first, and like everything. And I'll never forget, we got into this fight at my mama's house, like, and I threw some scissors at him, and I never, like, my mom was like, "What is going on?" Blah blah blah. So she had a real talk with me, and she told me, she said, "Maya," she said, "what do you think is going to happen if you're hitting a man?" She was like, "Do you think that the man is just supposed to keep taking your hits?" She was like, "any person who keeps getting hit on because you're hitting them just because to be in a fight, the natural reaction is to hit you back, and you don't want to be in a situation like that." And so I had never had this type of conversation with my mom before, but it made me sit back and think like, oh, maybe I shouldn't hit the man that I'm dating. Like, literally, it took that conversation. Because I was a little fighter when I was growing up. I mean, boy, girl, whatever. I have been fighting boys since, because I was a tomboy. So it just seemed all natural to me. But my mom was like, sis, you can't hit men. Like, that's not what you should just be doing, like going out and hitting and starting fights with men. Like, you as a woman should not be doing that. And so my thing is that when you do that, you come on and you put, like, so I said, okay, I'm not going to hit men no more. And so I make these choices not to do stuff like that. So that is things that I'm like, you have to choose from.
That's definitely masculine energy. And if you get a masculine response, like
Right.
I think a lot of times women take advantage of the fact that when you have a man be a man, he's not going to hit you back. And so I think at times we do definitely take advantage of that. And then if he does react, then it's like, oh, you hit a woman,
Right, exactly.
and it's like you're putting yourself in a situation. You should never take advantage of a situation just because you can, because you never know what you're going to get. And, I mean, I just, not to say that, growing up in New York, you do end up getting in fights. But at the end of the day, in terms of relationship wise, it should not be to the point that you take advantage of a situation because you trust that the person that you with is not going to hit you back. You should never put yourself in that situation or put the guy in that situation that he has to even decide like what he's going to do, and I think women are very guilty of doing that when they have a man that is a respectable man and would not put his hands on a woman.
Yeah.
I think the other side of that, like, to speak like from examples, similar to what you said, Maya, my mom always says, there's things that my dad does that frustrates me, right? Like, I'm like, how do you deal with this? And she's like, because I choose my battles. I'm not going to bicker with him about that. That's very minimal. My parents have been married for over 40 years. That's not something that I am choosing to. That's what he loves to do. That's what he does. You just got to learn, like, you got to pick your battles. You cannot pick and nitpick at every little thing when it comes to a man's peace. Like, leave that man alone. Let him do what he want to do that. Choose your battle for something else and let it be worth the battle that you're about to fight, because that's part of his peace. And I think also women tend to very similarly purposefully agitate men to the point of wanting to hit them. And I think that's super wrong. Like, it is so wrong when women put their hands on a man and get hit, it's like, I don't agree with it, but you provoked it. Like, there's a level of provoking that women do nowadays. Like, I will fight you, I'll bust you over the head with this frying pan, I'll do this, that, and the other. And it's like, where did this toxicity, masculine energy come from? I've never put my hands on a man, and I have no desire to put my hands on a man.
Keep your hands to yourself.
Yes. So yeah, that's a level of toxicity.
Thank God my mama taught me right.
I don't know where it's learned, because it's learned behavior at the end of the day. Like, I don't have those examples where I saw women hitting their spouse. Like, that's not something we saw. It's always...
Well, listen, hold on, wait. I never saw my mom, because my mom was a single woman, so it's not like I saw my mom hitting a spouse. But I was used to fighting men. I was used to fighting boys in my neighborhood and stuff like that. So it just kind of, it never kind of like, I think I maybe was in a transitional mode. Like, this was like one of those learning lessons where my mama took advantage. Like, Maya, you need to be a female, like, and have feminine ways, and you can't fight boys like you did in elementary. Like, that's not what we're doing anymore. This is not no playtime, cool time. Like, we're getting into real life. You need to learn about valuable lessons and things like that, because I never had an example. So for one, I didn't have an example about how a woman should treat a man in the household, because I didn't have a man in the household. Mm-hmm. So I just never knew what could or could not be right. But at the same time, I was fighting boys. I was fighting all the boys in my neighborhood. That was just kind of something that was just, normal. And I don't think I ever really took away from it as I got older, like in high school, because it was just kind of like, oh, I'm mad at you, so we're going to fight it out type thing. And I think maybe that was my thought process. Like, now I'm thinking about, like, Jesus is getting deep, but maybe that was my thought process at that point in time. But at the same time, I am very happy, because I always talk about that. That was a very key learning lesson for me. Because if my mom would have never sat me down and said something like that to me, I probably would just, I probably would have been that woman just fighting guys and thinking it's okay and taking advantage of the fact that I'm a woman, even though I felt like I always called my own. But as you get older, that's not all the way realistic. So...
Not all the way. It isn't really. I don't care how nice your hands are. How
okay, you guys
is in no match.
Mm-mm. I'm gonna read these super chats, and I'm gonna just let you view a video in a second. I'm sorry, I'm going back and forth between two computers. The computer with all my questions on it keeps going out because it's new, and the charger sucks. So please bear with me. So let me play this video for you guys, and I want your opinion on it, okay? Wait a second while I pull it up. Hold on. Oh, let me read these super chats first. Let's just do that. So our first super chat is Demetrius Coleman. It's about how a woman's dominant trait shows up, how they move the majority of the time. Marcel, what's the fetish with men showing emotions? Unless they're violent, why is it a big deal? If they choose to share, then okay, but don't force change. Thanks, you guys, for these super chats.
Hold on, wait a minute. Can we respond to that, though?
Absolutely.
Hold on. Can we respond to
I think that's what he wants, a response. Go ahead.
It's not a fetish. I just think it's healthy if men show emotions. I think, like, let's clarify that we just don't want, we're not saying we want you crying every day and just being more like, we want you to express your feelings, but fetishize about it, I think that's a very interesting word to use. And then to go from one extreme to fetishize, and then to say, unless they're violent, like the in-between is what we look for. What's healthy is what we look for.
Right. You're going from one extreme to the other.
Yes, like that's a bit.
But the truth of the matter is that a lot of times the expectation of men being violent and being angry is acceptable to a degree. Like, those are the emotions that, especially I'll say for Black men, that has been the way that they have been, portrayed, in the media and things like that. And so it seems like men have gotten comfortable with only like being expressing that range of emotion from, being angry and being violent, to, yeah, I love her, but not showing that. And I just think that being able to have emotional intelligence to show your range of emotion or have words for what you're feeling is okay. Nobody's saying, kind of like what Cece's saying, that you got to be crying all the time. You guys equate emotion to only, feminine. And what we're trying to say is not feminine, is a human nature to have emotion. But it's where you want to make sure you're not emotional, which means that you can't control your emotion.
Thank you, Marcel. Oh, and Congo again. Shantae, Mistaken, Tam, Cece, Maya. Love you. Love y'all. Love y'all's love language. Grown men appreciate this. Thank you. Yeah. You know we like to throw up the hearts.
Did he ever give his question?
I was just about to ask that.
Was that his question about what's our love language? Was that a question? I don't know.
No,
You gotta clarify, Congo.
Love your love. Congo, you gotta let us know what your question was.
Yes.
Yeah, you had a question for us.
Okay, so let's look at this video here. Hello, jeez, I got two, but I'm gonna put a break in between them. Okay. Hello.
I love Kendra.
Hi,
What's your name?
Shania,
Shania, where are you calling us from?
Columbus, Ohio.
Columbus, Ohio's in the building. Shania, Columbus, Ohio. How old are you?
I am 30.
30 years old. Do you have any children?
I have two, and I also have custody of my niece.
Okay, so 3 kids live with you?
Yep.
Okay, how old are your kids?
13, 3, and then my niece is 9.
13, 3, and 9. 13, your children, do they have the same dad?
No.
Was you ever married?
Nope.
Why are you not with the 3-year-old dad?
So we have the same birthday, and
You look at us on the.
I hope it's not my Wi-Fi, Kendra.
I think no, girl. I apologize. I think it's mine.
Okay.
All right, so let's try it again. So why are you not with the 3-year-old dad?
I'll be totally honest and transparent. So my youngest daughter is a one-night stand baby. We co-parent well. We just didn't take it anywhere after the one-night stand. Yeah, like
Y'all don't wear condoms in one-night stands?
I mean, I can explain to you the story if you want.
You're muted, Shantae.
Talking to myself. Trying to figure out how to take it down.
I'm trying to figure out what I just watched.
Girl,
what?
I love Kendra. I love Kendra.
We take 2 steps
I love
forward,
Kendra.
and it's gonna be something.
Black women do better. First of
I
all,
love Kendra.
I was trying to figure out if she was pregnant or not.
Girl, because she was trying to keep those pins.
Did y'all see Kendra's face though? Did you see Kendra's face when she looked up and saw what she was wearing in her stomach? Kendra went and then she caught herself. Because Kendra does. She corrects them. She does. She'll be like,
Okay.
so you're coming on this. So I don't know if you know Kendra's platform. It's for
I
singles.
don't. So this is
I was about to
new.
say,
Okay,
this is
so
definitely
it's
for
for
me.
singles.
Let her explain. Go ahead.
So it's for
When I saw
singles.
it, it was
They
just
come
too much.
on live. And she has a platform for people to meet other people. So she has them come up and cam up. She asks them a set of questions. And she's like, if you're interested, hit her up. Here's her social media. And it's a way for single people to meet other singles. So she cammed up like that. That's the concern there.
Well, what was the rest of the video? I need some content.
Well, we can only put so much of the video on unless we
Okay.
do like little snippets, But
Who really checking for
my
20 though?
concern. Okay, first of all, I understand that she's trying to find a mate, and I'm not saying that she shouldn't be. But I think that my concern was presentation. You know what I'm saying? Just like CC stated. One, you're coming on a platform. You know that there are tons of people who are going to watch you. It's on the internet, and you have your belly out with a tank top on. First, you're not dressed appropriately. Then you get on, and I am down. We always sit here. We're transparent. We tell you that we're active sexually. We talk about all those things. But then she goes into, the one night stand. And I just feel like some tact is in order here, like somewhere. I just don't know what kind of man she's looking for, or the men who will call who would take her serious with that. I just feel like, okay, even if you had a past, it probably shouldn't be brought up at this particular moment.
Well, at least
She does ask specific target-driven questions. So she'll ask you how many kids you have. Okay, how many baby fathers you have. When's the last time you had sex? You don't have to answer it. But she asks very target-driven questions in that small time frame that you're live with her.
But those are questions that you should be asking when you're
right. So she vets them for you.
So the guys, let me just give you the rest of the video, because there was more to the catastrophe. But I just felt like we should only show, you can only be hit so hard in one in one night,
girl.
But if I must tell you the rest of the video, she had a man who was actually in the house that she had just, it's my understanding they may have had
sex.
They just had sex?
And now she's trying to find another one.
Oh, shoot.
But why? So, like, why is she? So this is my problem. I'm just why are we putting those Why are we putting these women on these type of platforms to be showcased? Because that is not a representation. It's kind of like you putting these women on platforms to be showcased for the drama, for the ratings, and I get it because it's a business, but it's just kind of like that's not.
But she doesn't know who's camming up though in her.
Yeah, she does. It's kind of, we have callers to come up.
They have, so she's like, cam up and ask me for an invitation, and she invites them on. So there's sometimes people that are not even present.
Unfortunately, the sad part, that is a representation of some Black women.
Yeah, it is. It is. That's true.
Everybody can get it on this show because I got another clip in the
and it is unacceptable. I feel secondhand embarrassment because
me too.
Really.
We really no, and I say that every single time I watch Kendra's show, because she does. I think she now does Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays. She doesn't like Main Street. She goes live. It's become a large thing. I'm like, if I'm coming on to find a man, I'm gonna be full faced and not full faced. But I'm gonna look presentable. I'm gonna have myself together. I'm gonna be wearing something chic and cute. Like, hey, this is like a dating opportunity. I'm not gonna be coming. Cooking in the kitchen, like, what's up, Kendra? You got all different types of stuff.
She about to go to bed.
Men in the house, you in the bathroom. It's a hot mess with some of the way that these Black women be camming up. It's real true.
But let's be honest, who's really gonna wife her? No, nobody. Like you coming,
not even that man
on
in that
a live platform talking.
And does she think that she gonna get wifed, or is she trying to get her next? Like, I want to.
Talking about your last trial was a product of a one night stand. Your child is gonna see this one day. Did you ever stop and think about that?
Girl,
like, where's the consideration for your children and to have their mother on a public platform, but portraying herself like this? We gotta do better.
You know what's sad though? Tim is like, she wanted to share the story. She was proud about the story.
That is a story I could have went my whole life without knowing.
Girl, something that takes to the grave.
Well, do you want to know the story and what happened?
Listen, ladies, I think that the issue here is we have an entire generation of ladies who think this is acceptable. You understand what I'm saying? So she saw absolutely nothing wrong with camming up and saying this in public. And unfortunately, that is where we're getting this name from, because a lot of these women don't mind being on video. They don't mind expressing themselves in the most ratchetest ways of all, and it gives us all a bad light because for whatever reason, that becomes the face of Black women. And we know that that's not the truth. That's not the reality. But unfortunately, that's the way it is. So my question to you is, do you think that there's anything that can be done for, and how? Is there a solution to this?
Yeah, mothers can mother their children.
Well, we know that they're not. We know that that's the solution.
I mean, at the end of the day, the sad part is people won't change unless they want to change, right?
Yeah.
Like, we could talk till we blue in the face, and we can say, hey, this is probably what you should stop doing. But people are not going to change unless they want to. And there are still, and I said this in the beginning of the show, there are men who are reinforcing bad behavior as well. So
Yeah.
I think it has to
public
be on both
platforms.
sides of accountability. Stop reinforcing this bad behavior. And I'm sure plenty of people will be like, well, I don't date women like that. But there is somebody who is reinforcing her bad behavior. She has 3 baby daddies. That means that 3 men decided that they would have unprotected sex with her.
Two. One is her niece.
And one of them was, sorry, 2. The youngest one.
But you don't know who that man was because that wasn't baby daddy.
Right. And then the youngest one was a product of a one-night stand. So again, a man is entering this woman without a condom. Not using protective sex.
But plenty of people are having sex now. Like all the conversations I
types
have.
of diseases, and people are not caring. So I think it has to be accountability on both sides.
I just think that there has overall been a lack of standards on both sides. Yeah. Like, I think we've gotten to the place where it's just been me, my gratification, what I want, you know, and and when you just only focus on self, you lose sight of other things and how it impacts other people. And I think because society has moved to that place of just whatever makes me feel good, whatever I want to do, we have lost having standards and setting boundaries for good behavior, or not even just behavior, setting standards and boundaries to get the outcomes that you want. So everything that she is doing and have done, because I do think I do believe in reformation. Like, I do think you can make mistakes, mess up, learn from them, and grow. But it doesn't seem like she's hit that wall where she's learned from what she's done. Because usually you don't necessarily, you're not going to come up to tell everybody that you had a one-night stand, got pregnant, and and now you're looking for a man. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're just not going to do that. So to me, she's showing that she has not grown, she has not learned from anything that she has done, and have not set any standards. And so the type of person that she's going to meet and attract are going to be somebody that's just like that, who has no standards, don't care, and going to do whatever they're going to do. And we need to get back to identifying what is going to be important, what we want our lives to look like, set that as a standard, and make sure that we hold ourselves accountable to the standards that we set. Period.
I also think that people that have these public platforms, listen, take the time out and start vetting callers ahead of time. Stop showcasing this ignorancy on your platform. Like, especially being a Black person, like, you are a part of the problem, whether they want to admit it or not. Stop showcasing this type of behavior because it is unacceptable. She should have never told nobody that shit. You got the nerve to be on a dating show.
And that's the
the type of headspace that you're in.
And that's the exact reason why I didn't want to show. I wanted to show enough to have a conversation about it, but I didn't want it to be one of those things where we see the whole. I just didn't want it to be like that because I don't want this show to be about that to take more of the focus. But I did want it to be a learning lesson, like what so we can come up with some possible solutions, so to speak. But I agree. Somebody just made a good comment, and I think it was Tab, and he said we need to start ignoring the bottom feeders. And I hate to call them that, like that's not my wording, but the ignorance, we got to start ignoring it, because every time we view it, it's kind of like music. Every time you listen to that music that is degrading us, you're feeding into it. You are giving it a thumbs up. You're a part of the problem. In all honesty, you keep it going, because at the end of the day, that's how the money rolls in. It's about the views, and it keeps it going, and it's a part of the algorithm. It's gonna keep popping up. It's gonna keep popping up.
But I get what you're saying, though, Tam.
Because sex sells.
I do feel like there is a responsibility for the people who hold the platform, but again, I don't think they really have much control of that. Similar to how we tell people to cam up. Like, we're live right now. Hey, cam up. We had someone interesting last week that we were like, this is a very interesting individual.
You leave him alone. He looked lonely. We were there to help him.
Listen, but
and you just call him lonely, girl. You don't know if that man was lonely.
Listen, but I'm saying, like, you don't have the ability to vet if you're on a live platform. But I get what you're saying. Like, you don't have to.
And we can't hold that
you don't
against
have
her,
to
especially if it's not her norm, you know?
Right. Well, you can't repost. I understand like the reposting and stuff like that. Like, it makes it available to get constant views. But like Shantae says, those views bring income because people are going to look at it and be like, oh gosh, really? Look at this woman, right? Like, it generates dollars.
Now,
But I
one of
think
the
that
things
we probably should be more controlling of what we're exploiting for dollars.
So we're just a slave to the dollar, basically.
My question is, because I know a lot of like men in these platforms talk about women holding other women accountable. So I guess my question to you, just because I find it difficult to be able to hold somebody like that accountable because they're not in my space. They're not in my circle. You know what I'm saying? I don't necessarily interact. So in that regard, like, how do you hold women, since that's our focus today, how do you hold women accountable for things like that or behaviors like that when you yourself don't engage, so therefore you're not even around that?
Well, let me just tell you this. So when it comes to social media, if you like a video, if you watch a video several times, those are views, you know? So you're indirectly supporting it. I don't think that you're meaning to, but you're indirectly supporting the behavior. And it can be not even Cynthia. If she usually doesn't have this type of stuff, mischief on her platform, I'm not saying do anything to her. What's her name? Kendra. And so I think that, but when you go on to another, when you're in Instagram and you see that video and it's some ratchet behavior, just pass through it. Don't like it. Don't do anything, because every time you like something, even if it's funny, every time you like it, you're pulling it up on an ad. It's going to feed more of it. You understand?
Even if you view it.
Even
if you sit there and watch it, like you said, even if you sit there and watch it, like that counts as a view. Like that person gets validated for that view that they watch. But I will say this, because I feel like I have a friend who used to be like, you know, kind of like that woman, but not really, you know. And it was like one of those friends was like, gosh, I gotta let her go, you know, because I just don't understand why she keeps choosing these choices and they don't align with my choices, right?
Birds of a feather flock together, gotta get rid of them.
Yeah, it was kind of like, all right, like I gotta kind of get rid of you, but I did, like, deep down in my heart feel like she doesn't have anybody else to help her, to show her, to see what the beauty is. And long story short, like, she was able to like transform, you know what I'm saying? And she did, like, is she 360?
Maturity.
I mean, it was part of maturity, you know. It was a lot of things that came into place, but it was just like one of those things where I was just like, I'm happy that, because my whole point was, because she was like draining me. I felt like, I was like, girl, you're taking a lot of energy from me. But I also feel like a lot of our youth, and because she is younger than me, but she's not that much younger than me, but she is younger than me. But I feel like a lot of our youth don't have, especially if you don't have a parent to tell you what's right and wrong, you know, because I feel like I was blessed. My mom, I have aunts, I have older cousins, I have older friends who are able to tell me like what's right and wrong. And I listen, you know what I'm saying? Because I know it's important, but some people don't have that. So I felt like with this friend, I was that, you know, like I was her only positive influence. And if I just abandoned her, then she would have never saw it. You know what I'm saying? She would have never understood there's a whole nother side to your world that you're looking at over here. Because, boo, like this world over here, that's chaos. Like, stop going over there. You know what I'm saying?
It's so funny that you said that, the mentoring, because Mistaken and I went to a birthday party the other week. And remember the girl? And I was like, girl, call me. You're doing everything wrong. That dress.
Yeah.
The way
I feel like we have to.
She was just moving so sloppy. And it was just, because she was a beautiful girl. And I felt she could be safe because she was so young.
You told a girl she was moving sloppy.
But sometimes you need to, like, some women need to hear that.
Here's my number. Call me because I'm gonna help you out.
She didn't take offense to it. I said, girl, She texted
Yeah.
me
But Maya,
immediately.
I think you got
some of them
lucky.
you can save and some of them you can't.
Right. I feel like you
I
got
agree.
lucky, Maya, because
That's
I
the
have
reality.
had people in my circle that suck the energy out of you. And it was like a blessing when they were no longer in my circle. It was like a load on your back was taken off, because sometimes you do want to support people so much because you see their potential that it's almost like, okay, if you're not getting it at this point, we are at this age where everybody else that was in our circle has families, married, living, and on their own, and not having to have to have parasitic relationships. And I think it becomes, you got lucky because she was willing to change. She was willing to see, like, you know what, maybe the circle isn't it. And I think that's the challenge with trying to get people to change their mentality. When I go back home, that's the mentality that people have. This is it. I love it here. I'm not going nowhere else. I don't want to travel. There's no world outside of this. And that's that small town living. And then you're like, wait, there's so much more outside of this perimeter. Like, why don't you see it? So it's very similar to that. Like, when it comes to changing who you are, you can tell people to go to therapy. I know someone who's been in therapy and hasn't changed at all because they're not applying it. Like, they don't want to change.
And that's the thing, they have to want to change. And she's probably not in the space, and she probably doesn't have any women in her life that is holding her accountable when it comes to her behavior. So her showcasing herself in that manner, she probably don't think it was nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with how she's moved throughout her life, because no one has told her that this isn't a good look. This is not how you should be behaving out here. So it's like some people don't know, like we said earlier, they don't know they're doing wrong until somebody brings it to their attention. But I think some shit should be obvious.
Well, let me ask y'all this, because I was watching something and they were like, so I was watching this thing about like how the cops like arrest all the guys, and it was a Meek Mill show, and he was talking about the system and stuff, and I was like, oh, that's crazy. And my husband was like, oh, that stuff happen all the time, and I was like, well, I've never been privy to this. So for people who've never been like for us as women, if we never really understood that lifestyle of women who live like that, would that be more beneficial to us, or would that be like hindering that side of the community?
I think that go ahead. Anybody else want to now chime in at the end?
No, go ahead, Shantae. You got it.
Well, I got a little ADD, so that's why I bring myself back. I just wanted to say, I think that I think I kind of understood what Maya was saying, but my head just won't let me answer that question right now. But I think that if the job, I think we have to call it out, but in a tactful way. I think that we have to call it out. Like men say, communication is key. How you communicate with a man means everything. I think when you're communicating with another sister or whatever, it has to come from a genuine place. If you attack, nobody responds well to an attack. But it's all about presentation and how you present it, coming from a genuine place, a place of care, nurturing, to say, hey, you might want, give some suggestions, but in a kind way, some way that they won't feel offended. It's really coming off, like you.
So do you think it's wrong if we are not like addressing women who are wearing bonnets at work? So do you
if we're in person, Shantae does not have those hands. I've never been in a fight before.
Shantae is the purse holder. We know that. Shantae is the purse holder.
I've always held Maya has always, been my girl. I'm like,
so my question is, how do we then call out these behaviors that we're discussing tonight?
Listen, if she's wearing that bonnet outside the house, sis can fight. And you hit me, you going to jail.
Listen, you can look at people and know that ain't the fight you want to be in.
Right.
Because people pulling out guns nowadays. Be careful, okay?
So then how do we change?
Okay, so I think us having this platform is one way to get the message out there and to try to address it and hold women accountable. But if I'm in the airport and I see homegirl walking around, even though I'm like, look at this shit here, I don't feel like getting into a tussle with her about her damn bonnet. Like I said, you hit me and my
Ma'am, you can walk up and be like, "Ma'am, I think you forgot to take your bonnet off."
And she go like, "Bah!"
right, you going to jail. You going to
Bitch,
jail.
no, I did not forget to take my bonnet off. I had my bonnet
I know you
off.
ain't talking about.
I was just trying to help.
Listen, you going to jail and you're gonna be on the no-fly zone list too. Play with me if you want to.
You know, I think the most we can do,
The
I think
no-fly zone.
if you're around people, just have honest conversation, even with people who are not in your friend group. You know, I have conversations to the people I mentor on a daily basis in my job. So those are conversations that we do have, and they always be like, "Oh, wow," and I'm like, because it's tacky. You don't look right. Because they even come to my room with it on. And I'm like, no, ma'am, we're not going to do that today. Take it off.
Right.
Miss this, I ain't do my hair today. Okay.
Yeah.
And let's
Next
be
time you know,
Thank you for telling. Thank you for educating them,
She's
Shantae.
already in fight mode. She got her hair.
y'all, I had one who showed up. I kid
She
you
is
not.
ready just to
She
take the
showed
earrings off
up
and put on
with
Vaseline.
rollers.
You're right.
She showed up with rollers in her hair and the bonnet on top. The rollers were so big, the bonnet couldn't even come all the way down. It was just sitting at the top, and you could see the rollers under. And she had the nerve to walk her butt into my space. And I said, oh, I think you thought this was your bedroom. It's not.
She left the house with the bonnet on. She
Oh my gosh.
in a mind frame of it's whatever.
Right, because my mama would have gone up my head if I walked out her house like that. Y'all,
Sometimes
like,
parents aren't home when the kids leave. When
But you don't have that fear. You don't have that fear that your mom gonna find out,
Okay,
like randomly. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why don't kids have that fear in their parents? Like, you know, like that's why I'm like, if my mom would find out that I came up to the school,
they mamas
my hair
wear bonnets
wrapped up.
outside.
And when their parents are friends with them instead of parents, like they're trying to that's their best friend. You know what I'm saying? So that's another thing. They're not that much older than the growing up in that same kind of mindset generation. So they're not correcting certain things that they should be corrected.
And they're trying to normalize it. My thing is they're trying to normalize this stuff. And I don't want this to be normalized.
What I don't get is you say, oh, I just got my hair done. And I'm thinking to myself, but when do you want your hair to look nice? When do you want it to look nice in public, which we are in public? Like, you want people to see it? I'm confused at this.
Can people see the hair? Can people see the hair that you just
trying to preserve it till it's time for it to come out? They want the rollers. They want that fresh bounce, girl.
And then in the airport, you're in Atlanta airport. You're not going to see this many people in one spot unless you go to like a concert.
I don't ever, and I'm always dressed nice in Atlanta airport because I go to the Sky Clubs, right? Like so it's, you don't want to walk into the Sky Club looking.
Maybe some nice looking brothers up in Atlanta airport, honey.
With a bonnet on. There's nobody in there with a bonnet on. That's just not who
you never know who you're going to see with a in the public.
You don't know who you will be in the presence of and who you'll be sitting next to. And I've socially networked it. I've socially networked in Atlanta airport, and people aren't going to respect you. Like if I'm a representation of my company when I'm in the airport because I'm traveling for work. And that's how I present myself when I travel. I may be comfortable. I don't wear any like logo stuff because you never know who's watching you. But I always look presentable enough that if I am having a conversation with somebody, I can articulate myself. They're not going to be judging me. It's, I dress a certain way when I go to the airport. So
well, I'm a representative of myself, and I want to look good. Too. Don't be looking. I do it for me.
Okay, so I do have one question. I just saw that that somebody in the chat said that I think is key, because I would like to know, how do men call out other men when they're exhibiting bad behavior?
We're not talking about men today. We
no,
will have
somebody say in the chat. Yeah,
it's relatable to this. So We got shout out to Anton Christopher. Antoine, and he said, and that's the problem right there. But men will call out other men knowing them or not. So, in what way do men one feel comfortable calling out another man? Because I think men are more acceptable to another man saying, "Hey, here, young brother, let me tell you something." Whereas women, they're automatically always on the defense, especially
Men
somebody that
mentor
left
men
the
These
house.
young women
Yeah,
are
so you're talking
hotheads.
about young brother. How about if he's the same age as you? Y'all go over to him and be like, pull your pants up, brother. No, you don't.
Right, because I'm about to say, are men mentoring men nowadays? I don't feel like
Maybe a
the
young
generation
boy,
now
but
is
not a
mentoring
man.
And that's what I was
the
going
men
to
are not
say.
mentoring the young boys. That's what I'm saying. The men, I don't think the men are mentoring the young boys nowadays.
Well,
Like,
that's
so I don't
what
think
I
they're
was going
calling
to
them
say.
out.
I have seen a man say something to, it has always been someone younger, right? So there's not a level of threat when you're speaking, there's a lower, should I say, a lower level of threat when you're saying something to someone that's very young. Even and I know people may not agree with a young lady saying something to a boy, but I've been in a supermarket or something like that where I've seen, a young guy with his pants, like his whole underwear, like just hanging out. And I may say something, I'll be like, boy, I see your underwear, pull them pants up. Like I do it in a, joking kind of, but I do call it out. But to be honest, I felt more comfortable saying something to a young man than I would a young woman, because girls, they don't respond kindly, and I am no longer in them days where I'm trying to throw hands. I'm too old for that.
Exactly. But I think
So
it's
in my
key.
environment, if I'm in a situation, in an environment where is a closed environment and I'm around a young lady, like when I'm at work and I see that, I will call that out. But just going in an airport and seeing somebody, I'm
Grown
not.
women our age,
So you're agreeing that
grown
women can be
women,
difficult. You
but
just
Oh,
listen,
absolutely,
grown women
absolutely.
that I think that's the key
that's
factor
what
that
men
you
have been
pointed out.
saying.
They're younger, but it's grown women that are our ages that are walking around in public with a damn bonnet on. They're not going
Mhm,
to be as receptive to the message we're trying to convey to them as someone
mhm,
that may be younger. Like these
mhm.
chicks is ready to throw hands. And I'm first of all, I'm too cute to be fighting. My fighting days is
Over.
and I can still count on one hand how many times I've actually had to get physical with somebody. I don't start stuff, but I'll finish it. But what I'm not finna do is I'm not finna insert myself in her business because she ain't got nothing to lose. She wore a bonnet out the house. Sis clearly ain't got nothing to lose. I have plenty to lose. You hit me, you going to jail. Period. So I'm not going to insert myself in her business, but I'm gonna be looking like, look at this right here, boy. I tell you,
You know,
but
I had a guy, I was walking into Lenox Mall once. It was a long time ago. I was walking in Lenox Mall and the guy had his pants down. They were real low. And he stepped up to me, I swear to God. And I was like, not with your pants down like that. And he's like, my bad, mom, my bad, mom. Pull them up for you. You know what I'm saying? That's better. I was like, now you can have a conversation. I ain't, of course, I gave him my right number. I just didn't answer. But it's just the point, even with guys, when
That
a
one could have
man,
been a teaching point, Shantae. You should have been like, since you had your pants down, you're not getting my number.
no, but he pulled him up. He complied, and I thought that was very gentlemanlike. He was very cordial. He was like, he apologized. He just wasn't my type. I mean, besides the pants, but I think that more women need to point it out and say, if you don't like something about, and it's something like that, you should let a man know, like, no, you have to pull your pants up to have a conversation with me. Like, I'm not that type of woman. And men will, because they are trying to get to know you. If they really want to get to know you, they will do it. And if enough women do that, eventually he'll be like, well, dang, I don't think women like these pants being down in my knees.
So do you think a woman, like women that we were just discussing, have bonnet on her head? Because we know how women are. So we know, in us trying to approach them to say, girl, why you got the house with that bonnet on? Girl, take that on. If we do that, they, may not necessarily be receptive. But do you think women will be more receptive if a man say that to them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Especially if it's a man she wants to talk to. And if he comes to her and be like, are you gonna really, say something about that bonnet? Because she wants that, she likes that attention from the opposite sex. So if a man calls it out, especially if it's a man who she deems desirable, yes.
Mm-hmm.
You saw what T-Bomb said when we brought this up before. She said that she went and she saw, who was it? Busta Rhymes. Oh, she saw somebody at the airport. And she was like, she's never worn a bonnet again.
Mm-hmm.
She ain't said no Busta Rhymes.
She did say Busta Rhymes. What did Busta Rhymes?
Yeah, I can't remember who it was. It wasn't Busta Rhymes though.
Who was it?
That is not.
I can't remember.
But let me tell y'all, Busta Rhymes, boy, he got the cheek. Okay, y'all better understand.
So let me ask y'all. So do y'all think it is? This sounds crazy because based on what we said, what it kind of sounds like we're saying is it should be on men to hold women accountable.
Well, y'all, next time y'all see a woman in a bonnet in the airport or wherever, y'all say something to her. Let me know how that goes.
I was gonna say maybe the little ones, but them little ones like little chihuahuas. They be like doing them. So I was like, I gotta be able to map this perfectly.
The Gen Z.
I don't want no
Who's
drama.
gonna be the test dummy for that? Y'all let me know how that goes. How that
Listen, I'm not bothering the Gen Z generation at all. They know it all. They figured it out.
They're a different generation. I flow how I want to flow. I feel how I want to feel. I move how I want to move, and that's it.
Because you got one time to call me out my name, and I'm
Somebody
like,
said snatch it and run.
Let me just
I'm just saying, that goes to show though, because think about Monique. Let's think about this. Monique has a large platform, and she got trolled. She got dragged. Like, Mama Monique, don't tell me nothing about my bonnet. I wear my bonnet in the airport. But what Monique was just saying is that you should hold yourself to a standard that when you leave your house, you look the best you can. And a bonnet is not part of that wardrobe.
That's what my professor was getting
for it.
That's exactly what my professor that I told y'all when I wore pajamas. That's exactly what he was getting at.
Yeah, and I mean, they came to war against Monique about
but that. Was that
Monique
have some pride about yourself.
Your appearance, right? So my issue though is like, so Tam, you said we use this platform, but if you're a Monique who has a large platform, like, how do we really get across to them if they really don't even listen to people who have large platforms?
I don't think they like Monique. I think if it came from somebody like Beyonce, or if it came from somebody that they really look up
But Beyonce don't care about them kids. Like, for real.
She says she does, though. They love the kids.
Girl,
listen, who was this? I said,
we can only do so much.
Tap said, "Stop being so scared." Listen, we just had a whole conversation about femininity. Listen, women don't fight.
It's not about
right.
This is my thing. Hold on. It's not about being. It's not about being scared. It's about knowing yourself and what you are capable of. If somebody approach you in a disrespectful manner, or if somebody put hands on you, so I'm not going to even put myself in a situation to where I am going to be embarrassing myself and having to fight this damn girl in a bonnet at the airport because I took it upon myself to try to go, hey, young sister, let me tell you something, home girl, you're beautiful. You don't need to wear that bonnet. And she like, bitch, if you don't get out my face. And I'm like, now, wait a minute.
Okay.
Well, you know what? Let me mind the business that pays me. I'm going to go ahead over here.
You got it. But that's what I'm saying. You don't know how people are going to receive that. You can deliver that message in the nicest way. If she left the house in a bonnet, sis is with the smoke. She's with the smoke.
She was ready for y'all. And she probably
listen, and I might can attest to that because
probably like, I wish you would tell me to take this.
Listen, I might can attest to that because
y'all do it and let me know.
I'm not about to fight nowadays, right? But back in the day, like right now, I've gone this long without having no scratches on my face. I know I can't really see my face, but I don't have no scratches on my face.
You keep your head out of it, your face out of it.
But I had no scratches, and I got into a fight with a girl who pulled a blade out her mouth, so now I have no scratches on my face. Okay, so my thing is that at the same time, back in the day, I was that.
Like I said, I was. Maya, but Maya, I'll call you.
No, back in the day. I
She
I
was
can't,
like my,
girl.
what was it called, a goon? She was my little, I'd be like, Maya, come handle it.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
no,
don't
no,
want
no.
Maya to get mad.
You don't want Maya.
I have
Somebody
reformed.
said Maya toxic.
She's a reformed thug
She's
and she's
yes,
married.
she's
Leave
not
her
I'm
like that
alone.
reformed.
anymore.
Leave
I
her
am
alone.
reformed.
In
Okay,
defense of Maya, our friend has come a
like
long
mistaken.
way.
Yes.
She has
She's a
come a
Okay, like
long
reformed
way.
mistaken
thug.
has said, there are second chance people out there. I am one of those people. Okay, I'm not fighting anymore. I don't even know if I have the energy to fight anymore. Like, I'm just not doing it. Now, back in the day, I was all about that life. And to my point was is that back in the day too, I used to didn't, like I said, I was a product of my environment. So I didn't care about going to the store wearing pajamas and wearing, I mean, I know a lot of y'all are associating with college, but I'm literally thinking like in high school, because high school was more of like the product of my environment. When I went to college, I went to PWI, even though it's Georgia State, it was still, and I was in Atlanta, it was still kind of like, I just felt a lot out of place because grew up in a predominantly Black neighborhood, and it was just kind of like, oh, okay, I need to act a little, I need to buy tennis shoes to walk to class. So my thing was back in the day, I used to wear the bonnets and the pajamas to the gas station. So I probably was like that girl who would have been like, if you said something to me, I'd have looked at you like, girl, I don't know you. Like, you can't tell me what to do. Like, I'm gonna do what I want to do. Like, and so circling back around, it's like, who is your mentor? Like, luckily, I made like between my mom, my aunts, older cousins, older friends, and stuff like that. But I remember specifically, I had a teacher who she was my teacher in high school, and we literally didn't even get along my first semester in school. But after that, she was like my mentor. She taught me so much. You know what I'm saying? If it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't have grown into knowing certain things outside of like what other people were able to tell me. So yeah, those people who wearing bonnets and pajamas places, they probably about that life. You know what I'm saying? Because who cares? Like, they don't, that's what I'm saying. They don't care. So I'm not close enough to you to be like, hey sis, like Tam said, I'm like, you shouldn't wear that. No, I'm not your friend. Like, I got enough drama in my own circle to deal with. I'm not trying to go that deep into drama. You think I'm trying to go deep into drama where I gotta call the police and write a police report and report you? That's taking up time out of my life. Time is money. Like, we're not doing that.
We
So
both can't fly.
if we can't even
Yeah.
change the physical, though, how do we even combat the femininity issue, right? Like, I think this is just, I feel like it's a lost cause. Like, is it really a way to change what's
And then
happening?
I think we got to become, we continue to say that is the minority that have the louder voices. So I think part of it on our end, maybe what we can do is make sure that our voices become louder. And so that there are many more representations of women like, like us, or women that don't represent that small minority. Because what happens is, it is not just, well, one, I think, Black men, white men, other men, when these are the loud minorities, it ends up making it seem like it's
We're all that
all
way.
Black women, right? That we all operate this way. And then it's not just limited to the United States, it's in other countries. And then you have other women that are talking about Black women and saying that these are the way Black women are, even if they don't have any interaction with other Black women to know that most Black women don't even operate like that. And if they're getting these representations off of the media and then they're speaking to it as if all Black women are like that, now we're kind of pigeonholed into this idea of this is the way Black women move. So I think our voices need to begin to become louder. We need to become more visible in various spaces.
And that's why we brought this show on. Yay. Okay, so I got another video. So does anybody have because when a rat, moving forward. Okay, so let me do these super chats. Black God says she fits Logic's terrorist list. The young lady on the video. Tab says we need to start ignoring the bot. Well, we already did that one. Sorry for read. But thank you for the super chat again. Catherine says, I appreciate spaces like these with good representation of Black women. Thank you so much, Catherine. And we appreciate you showing up every week. We know this. Thank you, girl. In Congo, can I ask my question?
Congo, ask the damn question. Ask a question. Congo, ask the damn question at this point, Congo.
Thank you for the super chat, Congo.
Thank you, Congo.
Okay, so I have one more video because I don't want y'all to think that it's just us being ratchet. You gotta watch this, girl. Okay, so
Congo, you really need to ask your question.
Ask your question, Congo.
Yes. So we're gonna get it after this video. But listen. If you cannot read very well, go ahead and grab a friend because it's all you have to read it, okay? But I promise you, it's so interesting. Here we go.
Who think women who make their own money or who have their own thing going for them are completely useless to you because you want to be the dominant. You want to be the man that provides, and you want to be this like whatever it is you call yourself. And so without providing financial assistance or anything else to women, this is what the disagreement that we had with each other when I first came on was the fact that you're on a sugar daddy website and you're trolling women that are looking.
Trash.
Girl.
Trash. Both of them. Trash. Trash.
It's crazy. Listen, I never forget. Listen, I had a friend. We went out with some people that we know in the industry. And I never forget, she came back down to the room and she was like mad because the industry guy wouldn't have sex with her. And she said it aloud. And I was like, what in the world, girl? How dare you? Like, what? I was just appalled that she thought that. And so it's women out there that think that.
There are women, the true terrorists. I cannot even believe this conversation. We saw it. The conversation took place. This man blatantly just told you that he doesn't see himself falling in love with. He does not want you like that.
She said
and then you offered money. I was like, what?
Yeah,
I thought it was lies. Men say women pay for. I thought it was all lies until I saw this clip. I just could not even.
She wanted him bad though. Like it's a status thing. Like she wanted to have sex with that particular man, and he said, "I only have sex for love or money," and she said, "I got money."
My question with that, when he said, "I only have sex for love or money," does that mean that anybody of any sex can offer you money and you'll take it?
Oh, so he's like a male prostitute.
Who are they? Are there somebody that
I know him. I know him because he had I only know him because he had a viral video that we went over last week. We kind of went over last week. That was my first time knowing who he was.
He was the one that was saying something about like if I go out, you can't travel. Yeah. Okay.
So undoubtedly she has a name for herself as well. I'm not sure. So I think somebody put it in the chat, her name. So I guess maybe she has a name as well. I don't care. At the end of the day, I just saw the most, but the thing about it is this is what gets me though. What gets me is, I've watched Fresh and Fit. Before all the black shaming thing that went on. And I've seen all different types of race of women sharing ratchetness on this show. And what gets me is it's only the black people that people see as being the ratchet ones are the ones who are that carry that name. Even though it's a panel full of all ethnicities. For whatever reason, people only see the black ones and like, oh, she's a skank, she's a da da da. You know, we're the only ones who carry that name and have to keep on outside of this platform carry that name when it's clearly more than just black women up there, and that's what's frustrating to me.
But that's embedded in society. When you see those videos when they show you what's bad, what's good with the little kids, and they point to the black kid over the white kid, that stuff that's embedded in society. And I watched a video about a guy who said that he wanted to teach anti-racism, and I was like, that's not capable. But he was kind of like saying like you gotta embrace all like skin tones and everything like as one, and you teach your children that from a young age as opposed to just loving themselves. And I was like, oh, like that was a different perspective for me. But you also have to be open to see that perspective as well, because my thing is, like I said, society and your parents or whatever, they teach you like these kids are associating black kids as bad people. Like, why? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what they see every day. Now, it might be changing because we're in 2022, but that's what the videos that I see, on social media where they show like black kids, kids of all races are pointing to black kids as being the bad kid and white kids as being the good kids. So it's taught it's not even taught. It's just kind of seen, I guess, at a young age.
Is embedded to kind of speak for what you said. Like black people are the only group, because I wouldn't say just women, I would say men and women. We're the only group that have to feel responsible for all other black people that do something, where other people of other races have the luxury of just saying it's this individual person. Typically, a lot of times we are viewed as a monolith, even though we're not. So when you have, like how they say, one bad apple spoils the bunch, but when you keep negative behaviors on repeat, it tends to seep in that this must be true. But my thing is, across any race, ratchet behavior is ratchet behavior, regardless of who's doing it. And it needs to be called out accordingly, period. But I get to your point that you're saying it appears that, black women are being called out on their ratchet behavior when other women of other races aren't. But my thing is, I think we're going to hear more of that when we're dealing with other black men. And the reason is because we're dealing with black men. So they're giving us that feedback on what they don't like. You know what I'm saying?
Right, but they make comparisons, like we saw last week on our show. They make comparisons. But let me just because this person made a comment, and I want very important about saying, instead of talking about the dumb stuff, we have been taking accountability all night. We see the dumb stuff. We've called out every dumb thing we've seen. We know they're ratchet. It's unacceptable, absolutely. But as women, we feel like the ratchetness should be equal. It's not just black women, it's a lot of women. Okay, it shouldn't be like a black woman thing. It's women, bad apples in every bunch, period. And that's all we're stating. We're not giving them a pass. Yes, the black women on that show are very, 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 very ratchet. And if it were a black woman talking to him like this, I would have put that up there as well. Just wanted to point that out.
Thank you, Money Like Business.
Thank you for your comments.
But that's true though, because at the same time, it's kind of like mistaken what Shantae saying. It's like we do, and we as black women always bear that weight. It's almost like we're supposed to. And I think a lot of black women are in therapy trying to unload that weight because we don't want to hold it. Okay. We don't want to hold it. Like, we're tired of that. Like, y'all need to, everybody in the world, need to grow some balls and figure out how to handle this stuff on their own, because we don't want to bear that weight anymore. We don't have to. You know what I'm saying? It's almost to the point, it's like, I feel like y'all like, oh, y'all should do it. No, we don't want to do it. We don't have to. We don't want to. Y'all need to take that stuff back. We're not doing that anymore. And I think now we're in a society where people are starting to realize that. And it's like, we're not doing that anymore. I'm telling you, especially with these Gen Z kids, they definitely not doing that. Okay, y'all think millennials are tough? Like these Gen Z kids are like, fuck all of y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like we in a whole nother world.
Anybody else want to add to that? And then we're just going to because until we have callers, we'll go into chat talk. But anybody else wanted to add on to that conversation? So somebody chat talk. So somebody until the link has dropped, I think. So if you want to call in, you can by all means you can call in, or you can just state your question.
Do you want to answer Congo's question?
What's Congo's
I
question?
put it in the back chat.
What was the question?
I put it in the back chat. Congo asked his question. It's in the back chat.
Okay,
let's see.
everybody wants to know the question, so I'll read it out loud. The question that Congo asked was, do you rather fall in love via intuition and gut feeling or protocol? I think it needs to be a both. I think the protocol should lead because you want to be logical, like so you can notice the red flags that are there. But then also the intuition part, I think the intuition part is more of that feeling, feeling that you get. But I think both of them should align.
But I think you also have to, is your intuition accurate? Because a lot of times,
sometimes.
That's why I said it has to align. If the logic is saying
that pick could be wrong,
don't let your intuition make you miss out on a good man because you thinking that you got a bad feeling about it. Because sometimes our overthinking, we can take that as that's our intuition. No, that's you overthinking a situation. I know for me, I can only speak for me. Usually when my intuition is telling me that something isn't right, it's usually spot on. So I think your intuition has to be accurate. There has to be incidents that have occurred that shows that I was right about that. My intuition was on point when it came to that. But if you don't have those experiences and you're just like using overthinking as your intuition, like don't miss out.
I know. I remember I made my daughter. So we used to make the kids, well, in one of my classes, chicken soup for the soul or whatever. That's an old book. And so
get back with the chicken soup books.
They need to bring chicken soup for the soul back, which is why some of these girls ain't got these problems.
I made my.
I used to love those books.
I made my daughter read that when she was in high school, and we had discussions about certain chapters and things. And one of the things I ended up making her do is I made her write a list of characteristics and things that she would want in a potential boyfriend at that time, so she I was like, it could be physical, it can be just anything that you would say this would be my ideal boyfriend. And I made her do that, and as she gotten older, she just refines her list. She keeps, updating the list, taking stuff off, and she compares and she sees like what she looked at, like what was important to her in high school versus now as an adult. And the reason I had her do that is because I would say when you're dating, because you have taken the time to think about what you feel would be important to you in a mate, you need to make sure that whoever you decide to get with is in alignment with this list that you wrote. So if it has to deal with any character issues, things like that, you got to look and see how he moves. If this doesn't align, if what you wrote doesn't align with what you see, then you need to move on. So that way it takes out that intuition part and gives her something more tangible to look at, because a lot of times once feelings get involved, a lot of stuff go out the window. And that's why I say keep referring back to this list.
Did you vet the list to be like, some women have unreasonable expectations? So I think there's like a fine line between what you should be vetting and what's considered like, nah, girl, like now you got a whole lot of stuff on this list that you probably are, it's unrealistic.
And then I even see the difference as she matured. Like when she was younger, of course, when you're in high school, it's those, physical traits, you know what I'm saying? And it's very generic, like, oh, he needs to be nice. Oh, I want to be cute. I want, those kind of things. But as she has gotten older, her lists, of course, have changed because now she's looking more at character. She's looking at more of things like, oh, would he be a good, father? Well, and I'll answer, well, what traits do you think make a good father? Well, now add that to your list, because those are some of those things that they can be showing you now. And because she is a very, what I would say, emotional person. And so once she likes somebody and things go out the window. So for me, the reason I did that with her is I want, be emotional all you want, but here's the logical part. Does he line up? You have something concrete that you can look at to judge this person, to vet them, to make sure. And I could say the boyfriend that she has now, I as much as I do know him, I do like him. For her decision making has gotten better, but she's still young and growing and learning. But I think a lot of women need to do that and have those lists that they can align with and make sure that they're making the right decision.
All right. Tap says the accountability Tap, the accountability partner, says every part of American culture, we sell it. We set the trends. I absolutely agree. Which is, there's so much, to me, there's so much power in that, but we use it for the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we are literally trendsetters. Why are we selling? It just makes me so mad because that's a lot of power to have.
Because it sells. I mean, it's simple.
But they will follow anything we do. So even if it's for the positive, in the 90s,
but why?
Who made them damn bonnets a trend? Who made them bonnets a trend?
Yeah, I guess I see what y'all saying.
Who is responsible for that?
Mama Chica.
But yeah, I mean,
not Mama Chica. You gotta watch with these names because they might be somebody in the chat named Mama Chica.
I'm sorry,
she don't come up and she don't come up and say something to you again.
But my thing is, let me ask you. So let me be a devil's advocate real quick. So we say that we set the trends, right? So remember when Kim Kardashian, I reference her every time I come on here, but Kim Kardashian, I guess in the Kardashian system, they was wearing a box braids. And that's when everything started trending. And then Black people were like, we've been wearing like cornrows or whatever it was called, boxer braids. That's what it was called, boxer braids. We've been wearing these braids for a long time. So why is it now just trending? So are we setting the trend, or are other people who are mimicking our culture setting the trend? And then we're going back and saying, that's what we've been doing. Like, so.
Well, I think of it like this. I remember I grew up in the 90s when Black was just, you know what I'm saying? Everybody wanted to be Black, baby. And it was because we stuck together. It was more positive than it was negative. There was some negative, but it was more positive than negative. And we were proud to be Black. It was just like a thing. And they wanted to be Black too. And they let you know they wanted to be Black.
But then they got comfortable and they became Black and they just started trending everything.
They didn't. So there was this.
They got comfortable and stole our culture.
Yeah,
they sure did. They took that away, baby.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's what they did. So they took everything from the 90s.
But what I'm saying is, your question was it popular when we were doing it? Absolutely. Did they steal it? Yes. But it was popular when we were doing it. But we did allow them to steal it.
But so it was popular when we were doing it, right? Okay, so the braids. Cornrows were popular. We've been doing it. It's always been cute. Okay, so then when the Kardashians came out with it and it started trending again, why did it have to start trending again?
I don't know about braids and how they became popular. I was talking about a whole era, but
I mean, I'm just trying to use that as a reference.
I think now, but what I'm saying to you is, this was a time. I think the problem is when it's negative, when you're seeing more negative in a group than positive in a group. it becomes like a, they'll pick and choose what they want to do. At that point, the 90s to me was more positive. And so we were able to, I can't explain it. It's like, I just can't.
I think I kind of get what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, even like back in the 90s, like I lived to be an adult in the 90s. Okay. Like I wanted to be an adult in the 90s so bad. Like even Freaknik.
Same,
okay.
Same.
Freaknik was not the 90s.
Yes, it was the 90s. 94, 95. Listen, I'm from.
No, what I'm saying, we don't do it. It's
No. But, okay.
90s.
No. But this is my point I'm making. Even Freaknik, I didn't look at Freaknik as like a degrading thing. I just thought it was like something that was all the adults were doing.
It was. That's why I was like, please don't think that.
And that's why. So now as I got older, but I'm just saying, like, it was so much positivity in Black culture. The young kids didn't look at stuff like when I thought of Freaknik, I thought like, oh, people was just hanging out in the cars and just like wearing their cute little clothes. Like that's how I thought it was when I was a kid. You know what I'm saying? Like once I got older,
I realized it really was what it was, because nobody was doing nothing freaking.
Well, it was a lot of grinding, like
Well, when I attended Freaknik 97, and I didn't see. I mean,
97 was.
Let me just tell you that. Yeah. Oh, let me say this. From what I remember, I do remember some raunchiness, but it's the norm now. Like if you look at now and you look at then, you're gonna be like, that was normal.
Right. But back in the 90s, and so like 94, like I might have been, I don't know, I was a kid, you know what I'm saying? But my cousins were going and I just wanted to go. You know what I'm saying? I remember going to Underground during Freaknik time, and I was just happy to be in the vicinity, you know what I'm saying? Because it was like a Black people thing and they got together and they was just being free and being themselves, So now I don't understand how we went from, even like when back in the day, it was a lot of people were booty shaking and stuff in videos back in the day. And it's like, how, like to your point, like how did our stuff become this negative thing? And when white people do it per se, so it becomes a positive thing. You know what I'm saying?
Happened, in my opinion, what happened was the booty shaking it wasn't the majority of the music. It was like a party thing. You heard it only at night. If you had the album or the CD, it wasn't mainstream like that. What was mainstream was R&B. Yeah, R&B got a little nasty, but they knew how to say it in a sensual way, so it didn't sound so
and it was a variety of you had more conscious music. You had, like there was just a variety of other music that you can listen to. Whereas now it has
it's just like you a bitch, and I mean in the middle of the day, like even on Sundays, like we're not a bitch.
Right, I agree.
Sunday, but not
the music has changed. I think to some degree.
Even R&B, because R&B used to come up with like different ways to say raunchy stuff. Like
but in a nice, classier way.
Now we not gonna act like the 90s.
Now they're just like, I'm gonna.
Do you mind if I say? He asked, do you mind if I sex you up?
We not gonna act like that. Uncle Luke and them didn't have.
But that wasn't R&B.
Not saying that.
That wasn't R&B though.
That we all know that people was getting it in. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
we had some Luther Vandross,
but it wasn't like a negative connotation. But the 69. But my thing is the 69 Boys, Uncle Luke, they were popular. Like
they were. Yes, but it was a smart. Okay, this is what I hate talking about people who are not in the 90s. It's like because they take the raunchy and they make it raw. Yes, Uncle Luke was big for parties. But when you listen to the radio, he had it's your birthday, but then 100,000 songs would be about other things besides Uncle Luke. It was
depending on your household too, you weren't allowed to listen to it. You had to sneak and listen to it. That would not have been playing in the house where your mama dancing to it too. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I understand that. Because I think in my mind, I think it's like
are dancing to the same music.
Some chill music.
Because I'm thinking like, I guess because I'm from Atlanta, I'm thinking like everybody would be listening. Like, because even I feel like listen to a lot of underground music from Tennessee, a lot of underground music from Florida, and maybe just being from the South and listening to a lot of underground
Southern music was very Southern, like Kilo.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about. But for the utmost, like that's late night music, like it's getting dark. I said that Kilo the Dream came on. But in the morning time, it was Luther, it was Anita, it was the R&B, the New Jack Swing they call it, New Jack Swing, which more lovey, like that Boomerang soundtrack. New Edition. What's the New Edition guy? What's the Johnny Gill? Like people like that. It wasn't like no booty. You just had a time and place for all of that. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So that wasn't when I think of the 90s. Yes, as a part of the 90s. That's not the overall.
So are we showcasing it more now? Then?
Oh yes.
Are we showcasing it more now? Then
Mm-hmm.
are we showcasing it more now? Then than we did in the 90s?
It was.
I said, are we
Thank you, Jeremy.
Mm-hmm.
Are we showcasing it now more than we did back in the 90s?
Yeah, because social media. Look at how technology has upgraded now compared to the 90s. So of course it's being more showcased now than it was in the 90s. Like if it's so right now in the world, somebody mama was at Freaknik getting turned out, but there's no video, no real social media presence of it. It might be a Polaroid picture of it.
I just want to make this very clear to be very transparent. Freaknik was like only 3, 4, 5 years. It was not the entire.
Right, correct.
It wasn't the 90s. I just
No, I agree. No, it was 94. That's why I was like 97 was really not for real. It was like 94 to 96.
I have an older cousin.
Why do we do that? Why do we always navigate towards the hoochie mama stuff? Like, is that in our like? Is it? Like,
but I mean, just because I'm from Atlanta, that's a very prominent time in the 90s in Atlanta. Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like, for
they
me,
just had this thing in Atlanta called Jack the Rapper or something. Y'all remember that? Do you remember that? Never mind. Somebody from Atlanta will remember it from years ago. But I want people to remember things like that. There was so much goodness that came from Atlanta, just not Freaknik.
Yeah, we had the Olympics in Atlanta. You tripping in 96.
That didn't work out so well.
But we won the baseball championship thing in 95. Like we did some very positive things in Atlanta. I'm just saying as well. We did.
Yeah, I guess I just lived a very, I just like the sensual lights, some Al Green.
But back then you was definitely back then, and you was definitely down for the cause.
SWV.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, thank you for joining us.
What's up, ladies? What's
Thank you
up?
for your patience.
Thank you.
Of course. I appreciate you guys having me on. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah. Shantae, can you remove the super chat thingy?
Yes, don't you remember you told me you love me?
Okay, Tom.
Okay.
Sorry. It was a 90s R&B. They kind of,
came out.
So we sing it later? Is that what we do? We sing it later like last time?
I will play my music. I still listen to it.
If y'all don't mind, I'm just going to address a couple things and then I'll hop off. I was the one that put in the chat about setting the trends. So the question that was brought up was, why is it Black women considered the ratchet ones and not the white women? Good or bad, we set the trend. Good or bad, it doesn't even matter. They see us do it, and then they wait to get to a point to where, especially the women, when you guys will defend it, they see it as acceptable. Then they can appropriate it. And that's how it's been for years. It took so long in the 90s for people to catch up, for the other communities to catch up to what we were doing because of so many of the negative stereotypes of hip hop culture, rap culture back in the 90s. And then there was the Eminem explosion and they said, okay, now it's cool. They just had to wait for a point to where it was socially acceptable. Now, going back on part of the previous conversation, when you guys were talking about peace is a universal thing. It's the lack of chaos. Like that actually doesn't change. Your role in it as a female, as it pertains to a male-female relationship changes, yes. But peace in itself is just a lack of chaos. Just remove the chaos from our lives. Now, and it kind of looks different in 2022 than it did in 1964, right? It's not going to look the same because we got two-parent households working, both parents working. So there's not just one person at home with the kid. So when I get in these YouTube spaces and I see, oh, she needs to be sitting at home, my house needs to be cleaned, the dishes need to be washed, food needs to be cooked, I'm like, is that really a reasonable expectation? Now, am I into splitting 50-50? No, I'm into setting expectations. Before you get that far, there should be a communication that happens that sets the specific guidelines of the roles in the house. What happens far too often in our community, we move in with each other without having the conversation. Mm-hmm. And then when we come home, it's chaos on both sides because there was never really that communication piece. We need to make sure that we're on the same page. And if we're not, it's okay to say, you know what? I had a great time. It's time to move on. Some people are temporary. We often get stuck in these long relationships that should have been 3 or 4 months. Let's be honest. Only because we have two people that are afraid to have the real conversations, the real dialogue. Again, that is just my opinion.
Let me ask you this question. Why do you think it is difficult to have those conversations?
We were never taught to have those conversations. We are 4 generations in from a feminist movement and a lot of regulation that gave freedoms. And I think that broke the Black community. Because you got to remember, it wasn't even that long removed from the Jim Crow South to the desegregation of schools, and all of this stuff happens in an attempt to not allow the Black Wall Street ever again, right? To not ever allow the community to be a community as a whole. And it's unfortunate, and again, this is just my opinion, and I know you guys are about to jump on me, and that's okay. I believe that our women were targeted intentionally because you were the backbone of the house. And if we can get the women on board, everything else will fall into place. Also, another question came up just recently where it was, why do we just like to shake our booties? That actually goes way further back. We're expressive people. That's who we are. We're expressive. That's just, I mean, let's accept it. That's who we are. And it's okay. It's okay. Now, are we sexually expressive to where we show the entire world? We shouldn't be. But they've kind of made it okay. And we said, you know what, to each his own, as long as it doesn't bother me. And here we are, where we are right now.
Thank you.
Too oftentimes we decided that we're just not going to say anything. We're just going to, you know what? Not me. Let people be people. Well, hell, look at where we are now. We're at a place to where we're trying to put the community back together, and we're getting a lot of pushback. And whenever I say that, I like to go back to what Ice Cube was trying to do towards the end of the previous guy's administration. And he went on the talk with the 4 ladies, and they ate him alive.
Yeah.
They ate him alive. Mm-hmm. And suddenly the plan for Black America disappeared. It just disappeared. Mm-hmm. Because you ladies actually control the flow of communication. Believe it or not, that goes through you guys.
I agree.
Now,
Totally agree.
Appreciate it. Now, let's get back to the Kevin Samuels fit, friendly, and feminine. So let's not conflate femininity with submission. They're not the same.
They are not.
So there isn't a such thing, in my opinion, as a what was the word that you used? Selective femininity. No, if you always be in your feminine energy, always, 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 and always preach it to your daughters, to your nieces, to your aunts when they start to get out of pocket. You can't be afraid to preach it. Always be in your feminine energy. If a guy that you don't want to talk to you speaks to you, smile and say, you know what, I appreciate it, thank you, and just keep moving. Just keep moving, and that's where feminine and and friendly go hand in hand. Now, do you submit to every man? Absolutely not.
Antoine, can
Don't
you
you dare
mute?
do it.
Can you mute, please? Thank you.
Do you submit to every man? Absolutely not. No, 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 no. Not every man deserves that. We have to earn your submission. We don't earn your femininity. You should automatically be that. We don't want to compete with you. And that's what it comes off as when you get out of your feminine energy, like you're trying to compete for the spot of a man in a man's world, and that doesn't work. That doesn't work. We don't want to know if you're the as a what's the phrase in G.I. Jane? Suck my, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, remain in your feminine. Men will be okay with that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Me and Shantae actually had a conversation not too long ago about men in competition. Like men think that women are in competition with them, but women don't even realize we're competing. Like you guys see it as we're trying to compete against you guys, and we're just, I guess, in a sense, for lack of better word, just doing us, not even realizing that you're looking at how we're moving as a competition. So how do you, I guess, address that when we don't know that we're competing, but you're looking at us as an adversary because we're moving a certain way and may not even be realizing that you guys feel like we are competing against you?
So I personally have only been in that particular situation twice. And in each one of those situations where I felt like she was trying to compete in my space, my job as a man is to say, hey sis, I understand what you're doing. I want you to move forward. But you're not sitting in your femininity, and it feels like you want to get in the space that I operate in. And we can't be afraid to have the conversation. One was received well, one wasn't, and that's okay. Because I'm not going to argue. I'm older than arguing with you. You know what? I can say, hey, I understand. You go ahead and do you. Thank you for your time. But it's just about us. We have to say it. It's not something that you recognize. We have to say, hey, sis, no, you're not moving right. And if you accept it and kind of change course, that's great. Perfect. We both win. If not, thank you for your time. I mute. You're on mute.
I said, well, what do you look at? I know you can't speak for all men, but I guess as a man, what do you look at in terms of competition? Like in what way is a woman moving that you would feel like, oh, she's trying to compete against me?
Um, let's see if I can cite a specific, non-specific example. I say just the random arguing when you want to. I'm gonna take something simple. How about that, babe? What you want to go eat? Oh, it doesn't matter. Wherever you want to go. Bet we're going to Taco Bell. I don't want no Taco Bell. I don't want no Taco Bell. Why you suggest Taco Bell? Why we doing all that? Whoa! I just asked you what you wanted. You could have said Olive Garden. You could have said I want to go to the Catfish Hole. I don't care. It's little stuff like that is when it's, hey, what we said was wrong, and that's what that sounds like to us. What we said was wrong, and now you want to have a whole argument about it, or like finances. Even that.
Well, we're gonna talk. Look,
Hey,
I don't
I'm
want to
gonna
get
pay.
deep. I don't
I'm
want to
sorry.
get deep because this is gonna be an episode. You know, that we're gonna talk about this, and I don't want to get because sometimes when we changed it towards the end, it gets lost in the sauce, and it really
Yes,
needs
it
to be
does.
addressed on a bigger, more of a detailed conversation about it, not at the end of the show.
Gotcha.
So more people can hear it. Hear the message, and I would love for you to join that show, Tab, because your info is amazing.
I like
Now,
the
with the
insight.
finances,
Delivery.
we're
I like
definitely
your
gonna table-
demeanor too.
Well, appreciate that.
We're going to table it because I think that that's something that we do need to talk about, and we would love for guys to come up and give their opinion on that, because I think that that is an issue that people think that we're in competition, and I do think finance has a lot to do with it.
You look, you just tell me when, or I know JR posted, so whenever I see it and you guys want to have the panel discussion, I'm more than happy to jump on. Like,
Will
this
you be at the
conversation
Atlanta
tonight,
show?
I will not be at the Atlanta show. I had plans on being. I coach high school football.
Okay.
I had plans on being at the Atlanta show, but we start our second camp this Sunday, so unfortunately,
As you should, because football season is definitely in. I know.
She's a football mom.
If
I'm
you can't
gonna be
actually
honest,
be in attendance, there is a link to purchase live stream for Friday and Saturday show.
I just found that out. JR posted it in you guys' chat, so I'm definitely going to get tickets for the live stream. As for coaching football, that's actually more for me. It's more about me spreading knowledge to the kids, and a lot of the kids that play football, well, not at the school I'm coaching at now, but the one in South Carolina that I was coaching at, some of the kids came from homes with single parents or didn't have the resources that I have available to me. So part of what we do is not just coaching football. It is, hey man, you got a dentist appointment you need me to take you to? It's to be that positive male voice in the lives of these kids, because I can't say I'm going to be the accountability partner, and I don't hold myself to that same standard. So yeah, that's mostly what it's about for me, and I love the competition. And football's my thing.
Thank you so much, Tam. That was awesome. I enjoyed everything you had to say.
Season.
Thank you, Tam. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
You ladies have a good night. I'm actually going to go to bed.
Us. Thank you.
No problem.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Anton.
Is it Anton or Anton?
Antoine.
Antoine.
I can't see. All I see is A-N-T, and I just make the rest out.
It's Antoine. Watch.
You're on mute.
And
it's Antoine.
Antoine.
It's
It's
a
French.
Me and mistaken was correct.
It's
Wait,
French.
I can't. Is it A-N-T?
It ain't no W.
It's Antoine. That's all.
That's how you spell Antoine. Like, y'all not.
I was
y'all
using
know.
phonics. Shut up.
They don't know mistaken. Don't worry
That's as
about
French
it.
as
That's
it gets.
Antoine. I got a cousin that's named Antoine. He spelled it just like that. Don't worry about the Antoine.
Well, that's as French as it gets.
Yeah, that's not. I'm like, people pronounce it differently. My brother's middle name is Antoine, but I didn't want to just assume that it was pronounced that way. So I'm like,
W-A-N-E is the American English version, I think. But
yeah, my brother
O-I-N-E.
spells him.
Yeah.
Spells his the exact
Antoine,
same
thank you for being ever so patient and joining us.
I'm enjoying this. First of all, I gotta say, I have to say right off the bat, I have never seen a show, at least this show, for this time, where you guys took 100% accountability of what's out there. Like you come across it, and there's always that one woman that interjects about a man this and a man. You guys did that all night, and I'm like, oh, I gotta get on this one because I think it's safe.
Not safe.
Gotcha.
Yeah, safe.
This is the safe space, okay?
Let's call it like it is.
Yes,
let's
this
keep
is
it
the
real.
safe
It's
space.
safe because I'm very picky on who I talk to in that way. And for the lady, I think it was mistaken. I think you asked about what area does a woman compete with a man? I think, or something like that.
Yes, but Shantae said we can't talk about it.
I'm not going to talk about it. But
go ahead.
The only place women compete in that area and come across competition is financially. Everything else, we don't compete.
And we're gonna put a big. We're
Okay,
gonna
that's all I'm gonna say to
expand on that because so we want to get. We want to definitely hit that, and we want more conversation about it and get a better understanding of it.
But that is the only area women will compete in a man. It's just because you guys are feminine. We're different. You feminine, we're masculine, male, female. That's it. Financially is the only place a man and woman can meet head to head, right? At least in everyday life, right? So I'll say that. But again, that you guys are on point tonight.
Thank you.
This is actually the second time I've watched you.
Well, you have to keep watching us. And I'm going to tell Tap, thank you so much for being a supporter. I see him in the chat all the time. And we expect to see you in the chat from now on, Antoine.
I will try my best. Okay, so I want to speak on femininity because I hear that a lot in the community, right? And not being from here, United States, it's because I'm French, but not being here, femininity is something that I can say with a clear eyes that Black women struggle with. They look at it as a weakness when actually there's real strength in it, right? Mm-hmm. Now, femininity is not something you turn on and off for a woman. Femininity just is. You guys just choose to express it or not. So to say a woman is masculine is to say how she's acting, not how she's expressing herself and acting, not how she is as a person. And I think that gets lost in translation when people say that, right? And you can't say that to the average Black woman because she will fly off because it's a trigger. And I understand that it's a trigger because it's like calling a man feminine. It's like triggering a man in a certain way that he speaks, right? Because we can speak in a certain way and be very articulate, and all of a sudden we come across as, I don't use this language, but you guys call it simp, and I think beta, and all this sort of language that really doesn't pertain to people that are in a financial bracket. We don't talk like that, right? So when we hear it, it's like, why do they dwell on that? Like, a man can express emotion. Well, if somebody passes away, if you do graphic art and art like myself, it's a very emotional thing, right? Going to a gallery, seeing a play, seeing an opera, those are emotional things. You can't go in there as a beta or a masculine and heavy duty man and appreciate it, because you're going to look at it and go, what the hell is this crap? Why did I come here? Oh yeah, I came for her. So you're not going to connect in any way at that showing. So I think that's something that gets lost in translation when it comes to men and women talking, especially in the Black community, from what I've seen. And when a man is telling a woman to be feminine, he's not asking her to go out of her. He's not asking her to be butch. He's not asking her in any way to do that. What he's saying is you can still scream and yell because you're a woman, you're expressive, right? But there's a way to go about it where you're not demeaning and you're not sounding masculine and you don't buff your chest up and you don't poke the man's head, right? Because in today's world, let's face it, feminists have proven that it's time to start hitting back, right? Because they're hitting so strongly against the man. And there's only so much you can take as a man, period, right? There's only so much you could take. And I think that gets lost in the whole aspect, right? Because you hear women say, well, I want a man making 100K. I want him doing this. I want him doing that. But meanwhile, as a man that's in that area, do you even know what steps out of a man's car making that kind of money? Do you look the part? You can want it, but you can't expect delusional results. I mean, you can want all you want, like I tell, and like men have call out other men. They say, oh, I want a dime. I want this girl to be, but let's be real. Can you afford that? Because that costs. It does cost. And people have to be real about that. Because a woman like that, if I was her, I would want the finest thing for my buck, right? That's a fact. And I tell women every day that work out, I said, if you don't have the prettiest face, you got to work on the body for something for a man to look at, because that's what's going to get him over there. Now, if you open up your mouth the wrong way, that's what gets him to leave. You can be fine all you want, but what comes out of your mouth determines if we're going to be with you and stay with you. And women need to understand also, we know you can get men. Every man is horny. We consume porn on a daily basis. But what you don't understand is, do you want to keep him? A man to keep and a man to be in the bedroom are two different things. So you can have all kinds of DMs. We really don't care. But it's the one that you call every day, the one that you are feminine for, the one that when he's coming home, you're going to prepare, right? So I think the trigger, I don't like saying submissive to a woman, because that would piss me off if a man says, well, you work for me, right? That's a trigger. I wouldn't say submissive is not the word you use, right? Submissive is you tell an animal, that animal is submissive to me because I'm dominant over it. And you have to be submissive over an animal because otherwise it'll take charge, right? But I think women just need to know their role. as a woman, just like a man needs to know their role. And for me, I don't think a man should ever settle, right? Because inflation goes up, you want that life, you want that kid, you want that private school, that costs money, right? And I think a man should keep on striving. I don't blame a woman for saying, why should I come in at only 40K? Yeah, you could make 40K, but I don't think a woman that's in her place and knows her place and wants better for her kids should accept that. Why? Why would you? Why I wouldn't accept? I need a career woman because I'm a career man. So, and when we have kids is when we decide, so, okay, we got to compromise. How are we going to do this, right? Because you both have to come together. It's not. I'm not gonna. At my stage in life, I'm not gonna. I can't take away her life or what she's been doing to sustain herself, right? I don't believe in that whole I'm coming into you and paying all the bills, even though I would kindly do so when you have a baby for me and you need to stay home off your feet. But at the same time, I expect to come home to the basic things of a warm house, warm meal, bed made, everything looks proper, and what we have for dinner. So there's two roles you can play like that. But I think accepting your role is where there's difficulties. And I think that's where the fighting begins. Because most women don't want to compromise with that, right? If a woman makes 100K, she makes 100K. Now she's expecting a man to make 100K, and a man will gladly do that. But do you look the part of a man that makes 100K and what he wants stepping out of his car? So there's two different things, right? So you have to be realistic to your situations. Everybody knows looks and height goes out the window when you're standing on your wallet. As men, we know that. We know that. We don't. It's not something we go to thrive because we want that. And I think the battle is that accepting the truth, you know. And to Tam, when I said in the comments that we call men out for the stuff they do, like if a man was wearing a bonnet, and the way we do it is we just say, brother, you really think that's a good look? We'll whisper it to him because we have no problem doing that. Because when I was overweight, my brother goes, bro, a little bit too many Twinkies. But we can't say that to a woman. You know, we can't say, 2 tons of fun ain't exactly fun.
But do you understand where we come from when we say how confrontational women are, that we can bring it to them in the most polite tone, but not all women are going to be
receptive
to that information.
Okay, so then
especially because you say you're French, so I don't know if you were born and raised in America.
No,
but here in America, you can't just not these black women. You can't.
Okay, and speaking on that, then let's speak on that. If you can't say that to these black women, then that would say Kevin Samuels was right. You can't tell a black woman anything. Then
You
don't
can't
expect,
tell certain black women certain places.
Let's just say, but let me finish. So let's just say this. You can't tell a black woman anything, but at the same time, then don't expect change to come about because history repeats itself, right? So if you're not going to say it, we can't say it, then don't be surprised if it just expands because negativity expands just like sex expands. It's not the greatest thing, but it grows. People are attracted to that.
But you can't change everyone. You can
exactly.
You can try to put the message out there,
right?
But people have to be acceptable to that information. Like I'm not here trying to change the world, but the small people that I may touch, if it changes them, that is great. But I'm not going to put myself in the line of fire by going up to a woman that clearly doesn't have anything to lose when she left her house with that bonnet on.
Exactly. But here's the thing. Women have no problem. But here's the thing. Women have no problem calling out a man if he's a dusty, if he's a dead. They have no problem doing that, right?
No, I think that's certain men.
They have most, I'm not saying all, I'm just generally speaking. They have no problem calling that out. And they have every right to, right? So the thing is this, if you want change to come about, one has to express it. And if you don't want change to come about very slowly, like Tam said, and you can't exactly say that in America, because here in America is outside of America, this simp talk and this attack on black women and this aggressive, it really doesn't exist. I mean, unless you've traveled out to see the rest of the world, you would know that, right? Because it's very shocking to come here and go, wow, you guys really got a battle going on here, you know?
So I think that it depends on the woman. There are some women that I would not go up to, just like I'm sure that there are some men that I would not go up to. There are men who I would not feel comfortable walking up to because they just give me that vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And so It goes both ways. No, I
Right.
don't call women who call men dusties is because he's proven that he probably doesn't have a backbone, and she feels like she can talk to him that way. She's not saying that to just any old man. Trust and believe. Okay. So
Right.
it's the same thing when it comes to a bonnet. You know, as women, I'm not fighting. As a woman, I'm not fighting any woman
Okay.
at all. I can put it out there. I can preach it. I would hope that most people more women like it. Because and let's just be clear, when I go to the airport, there are more Black women without bonnets on than the few that are. It's just the few that are, we focus that attention on them because it's just such a wow factor.
Because
But
it
there,
only takes one drop of oil to spoil water.
I absolutely agree. But
one person can't change the world.
No, but that's the difference between men and women. We call it out.
So you go to, let me ask you a question. I'm
Right.
glad you said that. So because I didn't want to get on the guys tonight, but
Right.
you brought it there. So you go to men who've done bad things, a murderer or a child trafficker, or
Well,
you go to people who steal, or you go to men who may beat a woman. And these are not the majority. It's a small group of men, bad men.
Right.
And you go to them and try to correct their behavior. That's what you're saying.
Well, look at this. Look at the extreme.
I'm asking.
Look at this. Let me answer. Look at this. You went to the extreme of murder, woman beater.
But I told
wait.
no,
I'm
no,
talking
no,
about.
sir. So give me a
Okay.
second, because you talked for a long time and I
All right.
listened. Okay. What I'm saying to you is, I'm not going to approach a woman I feel gives me bad vibes because take her bonnet off. Okay.
Right.
Just like you're not going to go to a man who gives you bad vibes, whether you feel like he may have something in him that can retaliate against you, and you're not ready to go on that level with this man. You understand? So the reason why I went to that level, because we don't know these people. This man could be having a bad day, turn around and pop you. You understand?
Okay, but I'm talking bonnet level.
When you're talking to a stranger,
Right.
you
On
don't
bonnet
know
level.
which one you are stepping to.
Yeah.
And you must proceed with caution.
Yes. If you're talking about the bonnet level, we're talking about bonnet level. We don't
know the people.
If I see a man wearing something funky or he smells, right? Honestly, if he smells, and we've done it at the gym. We've walked up to a man and said, bro, you think McDonald's is the best place to have in a gym while you look like that? We've done it. Men know we've done it. We've done it. But we don't, you girls won't go up to another girl and say the same thing.
No. So
right. Now, if you're in the back, I'm going to explain another example.
So we're getting the confusion. So for me, we correct women every day because I'm in a position where I'm a mentor, like I'm in a classroom full of girls. So yes, it happens every day, but I know these kids. I mentor them. In my community, people I feel safe with that I know, of course, I'm going to spread that word. So don't think it's not happening. But if you're talking about a stranger on the street.
You just asked me and I told you that's how we did it in the gym. On the street, I'll tell you what happened on the street.
But that's not the street. So
okay, so let's go on the street. I'll give you an example on the street, okay? In a gas station. Plain and simple, in a gas station. A man was right there and he was not looking very good. And a woman passed by and he spit in her direction. Obviously, the wind took it. And I'm like, brother, do you know when you spit, that woman actually felt it? That's not cool. That's not good. You wouldn't do that, but men, we do that.
So let me ask you a question. So for me, even this conversation is getting me out of, you understand?
Why?
You're a man. And so we just talked about feminine energy.
Right.
I'm not going to go back and forth. I'm a lady. Okay.
No, I just gave you examples.
I feel that it's a discomfort, intuition. If my intuition kicks in and says, don't do this, I'm just not. If I feel comfortable doing it, I'm not going to step to everyone with a bonnet on. But if I feel comfortable doing it, I feel like she's open to, absolutely. We do it every day in my profession. But to just go to a woman, I don't know. I'm just not comfortable doing it as a woman.
Totally
at the end of the day, you don't know what type of
day in our life. You got to know your battles, and I'm just not that chick.
And you don't know what type of energy you're going to get, and also, like she said, you don't know the type of day that person is having. But I'm taking it upon myself to insert myself in her business because the truth of the reality is, for me, that's not a bad representation for me. I don't walk around in bonnets. However, they think that all Black women walk around in them, but I'm not going to approach homegirl that's at the gas station and try to say something about her bonnet, she already having a bad day because her baby daddy, they beefing, and now she done went in her car, pulled out a gun on me, all because I can't mind my damn business. I'm not doing that.
It's a certain personality that come with a bonnet, baby.
Women, I think is an easier. I think it's an easier approach that men have because they are men. I think for women have to have a certain environment in which they feel safe enough to do the approach. So if the environment isn't safe, then a woman should not create a situation in which she feels unsafe.
And that's why for the men, change is coming around a little quicker because we are really recognizing certain things that we are doing wrong. And we're able to just say it to the man right away. So certain changes are coming about, right? But back onto the femininity side, a man is not going to protect you if you express masculinity. Why would he? You look like you're doing fine. You don't really need me, right? Because you're coming across with that energy. And we're vibrational. We're ego-driven, but we're vibrational, right? So when we see that, we're looking at you going like, she don't look like she needs my help. I'm going to go this way. Right?
But because you want us to be masculine when we're approaching that woman in that bonnet, we don't know. And we don't know what type of
behavior. To go to a woman, stand up like
we're gonna get back.
Well, now, I definitely have a conversation, and it can come up like, you know, if I feel comfortable doing so, or if I'm in an environment of which I feel comfortable doing so. But I am never going to put myself where I feel like I have to protect myself from somebody because they don't went stone cold on me. Because I personally, most women, now you have some nice professional women who may walk around poor choicing, but a lot of women who wear those bonnets are not the women I feel comfortable going to tell them take that bonnet off of their head. It's just with
I totally
and let's be honest with people that we know. Yes, let's hold them accountable.
Absolutely. My girlfriend would never go anywhere with me with a bonnet on her head.
Yeah, we don't allow that. Yeah, we don't allow that in our friends.
Not even to the hotel lobby.
But you have
like
to
I said, women have their own dialect, right?
Don't know.
You women know how to speak to one another, so we'll leave that as the women having their own dialect. But I'm just saying, as far as men, we call out each other. Now, femininity, I don't see, for me, I don't understand. Well, I can understand this. I can understand why a woman would be so masculine if she's doing the role of both, right? So she really doesn't have time to show you the masculine side of how to be a woman if she's it's a single mother, right? She doesn't have the time, right? So it's up to her but it's up to the mother to make sure she does find that feminine side to show her this is how you should be, because she has to conduct herself in the real world and not let her learn it the hard way, right? And become a baby mom and become this and become that, right? And I don't blame a woman for encouraging another woman to have a career. I think every woman should have a career. Why would you depend on a man solely? Right? You're not going to have one next to you. If you didn't get him in school, you're going to grow up and you're going to not have a man, and hopefully you get one. But you shouldn't let your career take over your better judgment. And that's where again, lost in translation. Your career takes over your judgment in a good man because maybe he's not making as much as you and you don't see him the same way. You know, and if the average man makes 40K or 47K in the US, really don't know that exact number. What do you think? There's 1% centers walking around like they're not. So what do you want to do about it? It's either I wouldn't even say lower your standards. I would say check yourself and see what, the sexual marketplace value brings you, but be realistic on your choices, because just because you make 100K doesn't mean you look it. And a man that makes 100K, he knows what he wants, because I see them every day. Right?
Yes. I think that, and somebody just made a point somebody just asked a question, said, did we want men to hold other men accountable? Absolutely. But we do not want you to get yourself in any trouble doing so. We don't want you to lose your livelihood or anything you worked hard for because you're trying to keep another man in check. I think the way to do this is to have platforms like this speaking of it, and hopefully they catch on. Stop feeding into the ratchetness, giving it your attention, and promoting things of this nature. But by all means, I do not promote any man unless he feels comfortable and it's like a young brother and you feel comfortable doing so. I would even want a man to put himself in a compromising situation, especially my husband, because I need you to come home, okay? So everybody don't have something to lose like you.
Well,
because of some pants. Because you know, back in the day, we used to hear people getting shot over with stepping on some Jordans or some
Petty
I
stuff.
don't have time for that
Petty
in my
stuff.
life. I need you to come home. And I do not want to hear of no nonsense taking place. And I lost my husband because of nonsense.
I'm not trying to have on my tombstone, there lies Tam because she approached a woman in a bonnet. No.
I told her to walk away.
But I will say this. That's funny. That's funny. I will say this though. Men that are on their purpose, financially sound, doing well in life, they really don't interact with that stuff. They know ratchet when they see it. It's just not something that they would lower themselves to approach because they don't fit into the environment of them, right? Because you can be a fat woman and a skinny man. Those are two different lifestyles. Some take the fork out of their mouths, some don't. So we know already it's two different lifestyles. Now, if you aspire to be on this side, then there's something to work with. But if you're saying you're big, you're beautiful, that BBW, you're a Lizzo, you have the Lizzo, you're
Never said
great.
that.
But then if you're on that side, it's cool. But just know that doesn't look feminine to the men that you want. Because that shows irresponsibility on our side, because we're like, if we can't carry you over the threshold, we definitely ain't gonna marry you. It's men, and I'm talking men of financial substance, right?
Antoine, I got a question. Can you say one thing that's not a YouTube talking point, that's not word for word everything we've been hearing for the last 6 months? Just one.
Wait, well, let me tell you this.
Because I can quote everything you said faster than you can.
Let me tell you this. If she's asking me my questions, right? Because I don't watch this whole YouTube thing. I'm going to give it to the way I deliver it. I wouldn't question how you deliver your answer because that's how you see it. And that's your talking points. And that's your.
You're telling me, hold on.
But wait, let me finish.
You're telling me you never got none of this from YouTube.
Dude, I mean, why
or
would
none
I?
of the manosphere, because it's word for word everything we've been hearing for the 6
I'm on a
months.
channel. I have a channel, but it's related to art. And I have another channel that I'm on that's related to solutions and how we can make young men grow. We don't get involved in this stuff. This is not my area of expertise. I just came in because when they spoke on femininity, I just see it as something from fresh eyes looking in, that it's something women struggle with here. And it's a big battle. So even if I say what I say from my own point of view, for you to judge me and say it comes from this, it comes from that, I don't know if you're trying to put me down or talk, it really doesn't affect me. But I wouldn't interrupt you and say, hey, can you really blah, blah, blah. That's the part that causes animosity. That's the part
we do want to maintain a safe environment.
Yeah.
No, it's not. No, it's not that serious. It ain't that serious.
It's not serious, but it was serious enough.
No, I'm saying it's not serious as in I'm talking about flying and stabbing each. I don't do that.
Yeah, well, you just did. But what you just did, though.
No,
I should be crying, but I just can't let it show. I should be open, but I can't stop thinking. All the things we should have said that
Billy.
all the things we should have done that we never did.
Billy said he wanted to introduce himself to the show. Hi, Billy.
Love and respect, ladies. Love and respect.
That's Jacquees.
Hey,
now we're not gonna be on here alone tonight, so we gotta keep it fast.
Now you say that shit.
Thank you, I'm sorry, Billy.
We
got places to go in the morning.
I feel you. Look, y'all ain't gotta be scared. Y'all ain't gotta be scared. Me and Anton didn't apologize.
You gotta key him up, you guys.
All right, where'd Hink go?
Okay, Billy is scam likely.
What's going on?
Hey, scam likely.
We're gonna cam up.
Jessica, we missed you a couple of weeks. Where you been?
Probably sleep. Or either
You
at
know
the
how
club or
Eeyore do,
or I gotta be Eeyore.
bro. Y'all been calling you Eeyore for the past fucking 3 months.
What's going on, Scam?
Petty hour, I see.
Tell me you don't act like Eeyore.
Did you have anything to say?
That's hilarious.
You gonna critique us?
It's the usual same conversation.
I don't know. I was asleep.
This guy. It's the same thing.
Finish, Billy.
All right, tell us how you feel. What's going on?
At the end of the day, it says fit, feminine, friendly. And men have asked a woman, excuse me, can you be fit? They said no. Sorry, can't do it. Got to get fat. Can you be feminine? They said no. Can you be friendly? They said no. That's what most of them, by their actions, that's what they did. So most of them, leave them over there, fat, masculine, and whatever. They said no. When you meet one and they pretty much have said no, make a U-turn and go talk to another one, or deal with another one, or just go home and eat a sandwich.
It's gonna rain. I
But
don't have
you
a
can't
house.
beat them. You can't beat them into it. Can't grab a brick and beat them to death, or overdose to YouTube talking points. Excuse me, we would lead if you provide conditional femininity. I've got a 6-pack, 6 figures, and it just doesn't work. They
Women
said
are
no.
getting pregnant and they don't want to get pregnant by me.
Brother Hush.
Actually, I'll pass on the pregnant thing. I'm not raw dog Ronnie, so we don't do that.
I'm sorry, I gotta wear a condom, man.
Or I'll just take the dry meat. How about that? Just
You
dry.
know what?
Crackle it until it breaks in half.
Desto?
Like Colorado Desert. How
You know
about that?
what? The thing about it is, y'all
Huh?
know that. Listen, you know the thing about it is, when you tell a woman to be fit, it shouldn't even be about a man. You should want to be fit.
I
It's
agree,
about
but
your health and your overall.
they said no. That's what they said.
She said
When
no.
you go
She
outside
wants
tomorrow,
to be fat.
when you see rolls hanging out the sides, they said no.
Life ain't this depressing, bro.
Maybe the women he encountered.
Right, life ain't this depressing, bro. Like
No,
there's gorgeous,
skinny
beautiful,
women.
good energy women out there. You just gotta find them. Like
But
they're on
sometimes
this panel. A lot of them are on this panel.
But wait a minute. Sometimes just because she's skinny, that doesn't mean she's fit either. We spoke about that earlier.
Yes,
I don't know if you were able to catch earlier.
Insides be straight,
right, mistaken. Look at mistaken. She
Just
look
because
thicker than
you
a Snicker. I bet you she's submissive.
Just because you have a high metabolism, that doesn't mean that the foods that you are eating are healthy for your body.
And that you're fit.
You love to talk about big women.
And if I could be candid,
to being fit.
That's your
and if I could
talking
be
point
candid
all
for
the
a
time
second,
is big women.
you and Miss Taken got like the same size forehead. For real. Y'all have a lot in common. You know what I'm saying? Y'all probably wear the same size hat. Y'all probably wear the same size shoe.
This big forehead ain't stopping no show.
Right, that's what I'm saying. You know girls with the big forehead got that good.
They love this big forehead.
Look at
I don't know what the
CC.
hell
Look at CC. Look at CC up there. Forehead look like a movie screen.
We got 10 minutes.
I don't know what the hell y'all talking about.
Forehead look like a movie screen. She probably wet right now. Thunderstorm.
But overall, yeah.
This a bad
Overall,
Hi,
anybody have anything they want to contribute to the conversation?
Hi,
Hank.
Hank.
We're going to be off of here at 1:30 tonight.
See how you doing, man?
What was the topic tonight?
Very well, thank you.
Right on.
Are you at work? 65.
Yeah.
You at work?
What's the topic tonight?
We were talking about fit, feminine, friendly, and we added on freaky.
Can we add? Let's listen to Hank. Go ahead. What's up, Hank?
I want to hear this.
Hey, I'll just come up first.
Protect yourself at all times.
Mute, Billy. We're not doing this.
Billy, I'm about to mute you.
Relax.
All right, go ahead. Hi, how are you doing?
How you doing?
Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Just want to come up support you ladies. I see y'all been doing y'all thing on Friday, so I just thought I'd come up.
We see you on Sundays, right? Sundays.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I love your beard.
Thank you very much.
I was thinking.
Oh, it's very neat.
I
love it. Neat and thick.
Thank you, man. But I just come up for support. I see y'all was talking about a very interesting subject about fit and feminine women.
We're just trying to get it right.
Well, it's all good. I love to hear this conversation. Hopefully, some of these ladies that's listening, maybe taking some notes. I'm just hoping for that. So, just definitely looking forward to seeing y'all on more shows. So I just come, like I said, come up for support. Y'all ladies do y'all thing. I know y'all about to shut it down for the night. No longer tonight.
Oh, no longer tonight. We all got places to be in the morning.
I know that's right.
Are you coming to the Atlanta show? Did you get your tickets?
Unfortunately, I won't be there because my son has a tournament that weekend, so I won't. But the next little outing, the next little gather up, or meet up, I definitely will be there. Hopefully, I get to meet you lovely ladies.
Online. You can still be able to watch the live show.
Yeah, I see that. So I'll probably end up doing that. Yeah, I
can't wait to meet you in DC, Hank. Cheers.
What's the
yes, we'll be in DC. We're gonna break bread.
In DC.
That's the next one. That's the next
one. Hank, how you like it, Daddy? Hank.
I probably won't be there. I hate DC.
I'm excited about that.
That's right around the corner from you, Scan. Why not?
No.
Dusto, you're not coming to Atlanta?
That's
I
straight
go
up
to
the
Atlanta. I won't go to
85.
DC.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you're coming to Atlanta. Yay.
Hank, what's your
Yeah.
thoughts about the
No
topic
DC.
with fit, feminine, and friendly?
Well, like I said, I thought it was a good topic, and definitely something that's greatly needed. I mean, I know that's what I'm into, some fit, friendly woman. I don't want no woman that's gonna. Well, I hate to sound like scam, but no big chick, but with a bad attitude. I mean, that's like a double negative. I can't deal with that. It's one thing you thick, but then you got a bad attitude on top of that, and you acting so masculine, want to fight and argue all the goddamn time. Nah, I ain't got time for that shit.
So I have a question. Me and Shantae was talking about this the other day. We said, okay, if men are saying they want a fit woman, but they aren't fit.
We're not talking about that tonight. They have the listen. We're gonna have the male version of this. Hit, are you gonna join us?
And that woman says, "I'm gonna match your energy."
It's called I'm gonna match your flag. We're gonna put it in the shirt.
Match your
I wish a woman would match. I wish they would match my energy.
Hey, I'm all for it, baby. I'm all for it. But what show, Chantel, what song are you talking about?
We're gonna have another one, but we're gonna have it with the guys. So we have questions for the guys. This is like a woman, like getting our stuff together, because we can't come to you guys unless we got our stuff together. There were some things that we needed to take accountability for, but now we want to come to you guys. We're gonna invite some guys on the panel. We'll have a discussion with the guys.
They planning to have a plan.
Where you gonna find a bunch of women that got it together from?
Now,
I'll be more than glad to participate.
Hank, I wanted to ask you, because you said that you're into like fit and stuff like that. So my question to you is, and I guess a guy in general, even if you're not into like Dusto made it clear that he don't like fat women. But my question is, if you meet a woman that have the other characteristics, would you be willing to work with her to help her get fit, or that's something you feel like she needs to be doing on her own?
That's what I was going to speak on.
I'm like this. If I can,
you already know my answer.
Stand down, baby.
That's so like she gotta be fine.
So we know you don't like big girls.
Hold on, Hank, can you answer that question, please?
If I can't lift them, I can't get with them.
How much do you lift?
How much do you lift?
I weigh 255. I'm 6'3", 255. So,
ladies,
CC.
That's a big old.
I can handle a lot, but like I said, if I get too heavy, I can't deal with them. You know?
That's a big old country nigga right there.
Yeah, well, you know.
I'm 158, so no.
Yeah, I'm sure my man wouldn't want nobody 200-pound woman. I'm sure he wouldn't want that.
So as long as they less than 200-pound ladies, listen. Less than 200 pounds.
158.
You could be $180. Less than 200 pounds.
You're 199.
199.9.
Bro, I'm skinny as hell and I'm 170. How you 158?
Oh, you are tiny.
Hank is lifting 199.9, ladies. That is a cut off. Just broke that beard.
I'm 187.
But mistaken. I mean, if you're asking that question, would a guy take you serious? First, you have to attract him to get over there. So if you're looking big, what's the percentage that he'll walk over and say hi if you're not his type, right? To give you that chance to say you're on your mission.
Yo, but look, sure. that don't matter, because the thing is that you can be attracted to a woman that does not make her wife material. What I have found in my anecdotal experience with the guys that I've seen that who are married, and it's a few guys, and what I've noticed is it doesn't matter about the fit part. If she's feminine and friendly, dudes will look past the fit part. They will marry a chick who's overweight, thick, this, that, and other, if she compliments who he is.
But something has to get you over there.
A lot of dudes will marry anything. Let's be real.
Bro, let's be real. Our women are the most fine women on the planet. Like,
no,
they aren't the most
women
fit.
on the planet.
They aren't the most fit women, but they are the finest women on the planet.
Well, that's your opinion, but I'm just saying, what would get you over there?
So you disagree?
Wait.
Yeah.
Even if that's the case, she got a badass attitude.
Trap card, nigga.
And I also don't agree that they're ours either. They don't belong to us.
You can't see a personality. You can't see a personality. How are you going to see that? Something has to get you over there. So I'm just saying, for somebody that sees the woman, you still have to get over there. How are you going to know she's all these things if you don't get over there to talk to her? You can't go, wow, what a great brain. I'm going to entertain that. I mean, you got to be realistic, right?
Bro, you love your grandma?
Right.
I love everybody in my life.
Right. No. But I'm just saying, like, I love my grandma, and the how I pick a woman, like even as a kid, I was like, I want a woman who's like my mom and like my grandma in some kind of way. Like the traits that they have, I want my woman to have. So like my grandma is a big woman, but her qualities as a woman are like so refined. Like they are so like she's a nurturer to the fullest. She's like a protector to the fullest. She's super feminine even at 100 years old, and so like that's always been in her. And when she was a 22-year-old woman, she played basketball, so she was tall and big. So
yeah, but you wouldn't know that if you saw her without knowing her.
Well, sometimes, Antoine, what I found, like if you're in social circles and you may not be attracted to somebody initially physically, but their personality, you start seeing how they interact with other people. You
right,
start to see how they
now
are
you're talking
in
within the
social
environment.
settings.
just like an
Then you
attractive
become
woman,
more attracted to that person
If
based
you're
on
within
their
that circle,
personality.
right?
yes.
Just
If
like
you're
the
within that
opposite,
Right.
circle,
But
like
I
somebody
understand
who
what
can
you're
be
saying, that
attractive
if
can
you
become
see somebody
less.
walk past and they're not physically what you're interested in, then generally that's not going to be someone you're going to approach
exactly.
and be like,
That's
oh, they
all
got a
I'm
great
saying.
personality. I'm
Yes,
interested.
that's all I'm saying.
How
Yeah.
about no?
Huh?
I said, how about no?
Okay, Eeyore, go get in your tent.
What's he talking about? I don't
I
know.
don't have no idea what he said.
If a person's attracted, they're attracted. If they're not, they're not. You can't force somebody. It's not something you can just force.
You're
Well,
Where the
I
telling
hell
me
is
think that what
Piglet?
he's saying
That's
is,
the same thing with women. If you don't like the guy, you don't like him.
Where
you
the
know
hell is
what?
Piglet?
I think he's making that point from what you said, that men marry women who aren't attractive all the time. And we're in another episode, we're going to talk about a issue where a woman found out her man was not attracted to her, which of course can happen in that. So it does happen. You know what I'm saying? So there are men who are not attracted to their women who they marry.
It would be him to bring that up, right?
It's not an
No, I'm
ideal
just talking
situation
reality.
by
How
all
motivated?
means.
There's a woman who you're not attracted to. How motivated are you to get in the car and go drive 30 minutes to go see
How
it?
motivated are you to marry this woman?
Oh,
And then you're talking about marrying?
Like,
It doesn't add up.
Is that the point of it all?
Huh?
Yeah, well, that's what happened.
That's the point of it all. Like, if you're not doing that, you just being reckless and retarded.
We were gonna bring that up our next.
Said, huh?
Some people don't have the same. Some people don't have the same goals.
I know, CC. I know everybody's different, but
some people don't have the same relationship goals.
Right. I feel, and that's apparent right now.
But Nostradamus, you've never been in a circle of friends where you don't know somebody, or you're in a party, you don't know somebody. That guy may not be your cup of tea from a distance, but then you interact or somebody introduces him to you, and you've never been in a situation where after you've judged him from a distance, when you talk to him and get to know him, all of a sudden you're like, this guy is like, wow, okay, I can. Wow.
Well, that happens to women all the time, because women.
Hold on, you're talking about some guys.
And the opposite happens.
And
to
even
men
if,
all
and
the
even
time.
if you change it to the women, you've never been in a circle of women that maybe not your cup of tea, but all of a sudden they talk and you're more interested in hearing them talk. And
the opposite. It's actually the opposite,
to talk
bro.
to her more.
It's the
and you're not
opposite.
physically attracted.
There'll be girls that are very, very pretty, and the more I hear them talk, the less attractive they get.
And it's the opposite too, right? You would say?
Well, men do the same thing. I think that
So
there are a
it
lot
would
of
be
attractive
opposite.
men. Like Dusto, for example. He's very attractive. But when the women hear him talk, you know, the dryness of the pH just goes crazy.
This guy here.
It's like SpongeBob comes out of his mouth and jumps right into their pants.
I like Dusto when he talks. I have had the privilege of looking at some channels when Dusto gets on there. Sometimes he be dropping gems. I be like,
Miss Piglet, you might be what he needs. Because Eeyore needs Piglet.
You will not call my friend Miss Piglet. Thank you very much.
Piglet is very cute.
Anyway,
but he's the likable one of that.
Listen, I ain't saying
anyway,
about
back to reality. If a person ain't attracted, I don't know how somebody else can do it. Shout out to them.
I love
you.
Ain't attracted. I don't see how it works. It's kind of not motivating. I don't see that full picture. Every woman I dated that I was pursuing, like for real, I was attracted not just by how they look, but yes, it's important. Then their attitude and the rest of the stuff.
Is that the only tone that you have?
Pretty much.
God damn.
All right, you guys, we have to sum it up. It is 1:30, but I wanted to just get you guys' opinion on this. You just say yay or nay. We don't want a conversation. But Tara sent me this, and if it's a yay, if we all agree that it's a yay, then it is something, it's a gem that's going to be dropped, and it is for women. Some advice to women, and that advice is 14. It's 14 sayings. Never belittle your man. Never talk down to him. Never ignore him. Never let him feel replaceable. Never play down your need for him. Never cause him to feel embarrassed. Never look away or text while he's talking. Never manipulate him. Never boss him. Never laugh at his mistakes or faults. Never put any person before him. Never be too busy for him. Never be inconsiderate of his feelings, and never tell his personal business. Yay or nay? Just yay or nay.
That's the Bible right there.
I agree with all that.
We are going to leave it on that. I hope the ladies were listening. If you didn't, you can always rewind it and listen again. I want to thank the ladies in the chat, the ladies and men in the chat who held us down. Our moderators, Catherine, Miss Parker, Tab. Thank you so much for being here with us every week, holding the chat down. For everybody who calls in, thank you, Billy, our usual Billy Dusto.
Love and respect.
You can catch him on Sundays. Thank you, Antoine. Tap, thank you for calling in.
Wait, hold on. Are there any super chats before we go?
I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, that's a good one. So I'm glad you brought that up. Sir Chai, to be fair to Black women, the Latinas have been wilding lately, from bell fries to Dollar Tree attacks, and Black men have not had the same energy. Okay, I wish I would have saw that a little earlier. We're gonna bring it back up when it's the guy's turn. And Sir says, I like big women, especially when we play rough.
Why do you want to tussle?
I am not doing this with y'all today. Anyhow, thank you guys for tuning in, especially who are here with us every Friday. We appreciate you. We love you. And ladies on the panel, a Chic critique. Good night.
Good
Have a great
night.
weekend.
Good night.
We'll see you Friday here in Atlanta, 5 Eastern Standard Time in Atlanta, Georgia, for our meet and greet. Come experience the La Peep experience.
Good night.
Good night.